Welcome to the Patel Perspective podcast. I'm your host, Harsh Patel. I have obtained a bachelor's degree in neuroscience and minors in biology and biochemistry. Through that education, this podcast allows me to deliver proper health, science, and self-improvement information to the people around the world. If you have liked any of my podcast episodes, and if you would like to show support, the only way to do so is by subscribing to my YouTube channel and following the social media platforms of the guests you have liked. You really don't want to miss out on the highly intellectually stimulating conversations we'll be having in the future episodes. Today's guest is myself, and in this episode, I will be sharing the most informative work of how to lose weight and, most importantly, how to prevent weight gain. This topic is very near and dear to me. This is what I live for, preaching the principles of fat loss, weight loss, and improving body composition. I have put about 2 weeks of effort into this podcast episode, and my hopes is that you use this and lose weight forever and keep it off. So without further ado, let's get started into today's podcast. Welcome to another episode of the Patel Perspective. This podcast is about how to lose weight and keep it off. My weight loss story. I lost about 65 pounds in the span of 3 years. I went down from 225 to 163. And what I did is I did OMAD, which is like a subcategory of intermittent fasting. And I also did 1 hour of cardio every single evening at around 7 p.m., 8 p.m. And so, yeah, I was really young. I didn't know what to do, what are the specifics are to lose weight. But I did know that I need to follow some sort of restriction. And at that point, for me, because I was so big, because I was 225 pounds, I was sick of being judged for how I looked. I was in a really judgy environment from the people who I had around me. And it's just that growing up was hard for me naturally. And I'm not going to cry about it in this podcast, but I'm just going to say that this is the best thing I did for my self-love and my confidence, because I think it was necessary change for my life. And so I used intermittent fasting, 1 meal a day, OMAD, to get down to 65 pounds. It didn't happen quickly. There are speculations that I want to bring up that I have heard that my weight loss journey was due to a weight loss surgery. That's completely false, because weight loss surgery is an overnight switch. It's an overnight success. I did not encounter overnights. This is not overnight success. A weight loss journey is not overnight success. You can't even qualify for a weight loss surgery this young. I may be wrong, but you cannot even qualify with 225 pounds at maybe 50% or 40% body fat. You have to be probably at my height, you have to be around 250, 260 pounds to qualify for a weight loss surgery. Just to put it out there. Just to put it out there for the people who think that my journey and my transformation is due to a weight loss surgery. And so I used OMAD, 1 meal a day, for about 3 years, and I got down to 65 pounds. And then I saw a plateau, right? There's always a plateau. There's always a weight loss plateau. And maybe I am in a current weight loss plateau. I do feel like that sometimes. But at 20, I started doing resistance training. I started putting a lot of effort into not doing a lot of cardio. And I did intermittent fasting. I was like a 2 meal a day person at 20 years of age. I probably did around 6 hours. My eating window was around 6 hours. But I also did weightlifting. I wasn't really dedicated to weightlifting. I really didn't know what goes into building muscle. But at around 21 and 22, I learned through reading books, listening to podcasts, listening to credible YouTube videos, what really goes into building muscle. I think Jeff Nippard's videos really helped me out with that. And then my other inspirations are Lane Norton. He is a powerlifter, and his YouTube channel is really educational in terms of like learning about different things about nutrition and weightlifting and that sort of stuff. So I'm a nerd at core, and so I really loved learning about it. And so I started to weightlift hard. I also do like a 5-6 day. I go to the gym 5-6 times a week, and right now I have gained about 5 to 7 pounds, which I'm definitely sure that it's probably about 5 to 7 pounds of muscle and not fat, because as you can see, when I was 20, there's not a lot of lean body mass here. Like there is not lean body mass, but like muscle mass. But then after a year of hard lifting, I've been lifting hard for not a long time. And so a year of hard lifting can really, even 6 months of hard lifting and being at a maintenance calories can really change your body composition. And I don't do intermittent fasting anymore. I don't think there are benefits to it at this point if I want to focus on building muscle and maximize muscle mass in my 20s. And so there's always, I believe you always have to just figure out what changes you can make to your healthy lifestyle so you can progress on creating the ultimate body composition. And body composition is just progressing towards a maximal muscle mass and progressing towards a desirable and a low body fat percentage. And that is what I am aiming towards. And so I don't do intermittent fasting anymore. I don't think the literature doesn't show it. The people who I follow, the people who I admire in the fields of exercise science, physiology, endocrinology, I don't think intermittent fasting really has that many benefits, which I'll get to it, okay? And so, yeah, so why is obesity a problem? Obesity, if this was a live stream, I would definitely have people comment down below, why do you think obesity is a problem? And if you feel like I have missed anything in the whole podcast, please comment down below so we can make this an engaging conversation. So I've come up with several reasons, but obesity is the root problem, okay? You have to understand this. Everyone need to understand that obesity is the root problem. I was on Instagram one day. I was scrolling through Reels because this is my line of business, to look at trending sounds and everything. But I was scrolling through Reels and this guy pops up. And he claims that the root problem is spiking your blood sugars. That is the root problem. And it's just so comical to me that spiking your blood sugar consistently without having that sugar go into your cells is a sign of prediabetes. And what is that coming from? That is coming from the root problem, and the root problem is obesity. It's not the blood sugar spikes that an individual experience. Now, I'm not a metabolic expert, but I do have general knowledge to figure out that what is the root problem, because I've been in this fitness for about 7 years. And anyone on social media who says a particular marker of health is the root cause of problem, or the deviation from that range, let's say blood pressure or blood glucose is the root cause of problem, they are ultimately bullshitting, because they don't really know what the root problem is. And if they know, they want to hide it so that they can sell you supplements to lower that marker. And in fact, that is exactly what that guy was doing. He was selling supplements to lower blood sugar. And you can just take a drug. You can just take metformin or any other similar drugs that could lower your blood sugar. But that guy didn't talk about the root problem, which is obesity. Elevation of your adipose tissue or expansion of adipose tissue releases certain inflammatory hormones that are linked to a lot of different diseases and a lot of different issues. Like It's type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure. It's cancer. Cancer, the number one risk factor for cancer is obesity. Okay? And so a person who tells you on social media that a marker of health is the root cause of problem, you really have to question that every day. The root cause of problem is not a marker of health. It's actually your fat. You, at the end of the day, are really, really fat. And you have to accept that. Fat acceptance, you have to accept the fat, but you have to be accountable for your obesity. Because people will sell you stuff. People will rip you off. Just to start off the podcast. Just to have a logical and a more like intuition and consciousness into going into this topic, right? And when you're scrolling through information online, like, I just want to make you conscious that obesity is the root cause of your problems, your metabolic health, your cardiovascular health. And so this is what I come up with. Poor lifestyle choices is number one. And poor lifestyle choices is basically just, you have a potato. Well, are you going to make French fries or are you going to make baked potato? But then you can also make loaded baked potato, which is right here. And then that is just equivalent to French fries. So just to see, I'm just showing you that how can poor lifestyle choices can affect you. Ultra processed foods is also another one, right? What ultra processed food does, it's not bad, but what ultra processed food does is that you lose cognitive control. There is no brain power there. You lose the control over your intake. And when I did my neuroscience research and my neuroscience proposals, I always, my desire of topic was always food addiction and binge eating. And when you take rats and give them 24-hour access of ultra processed foods, they are going to overeat compared to normal chow. So that is what is true in rats, and it's just observing behavior. You can argue that rats and humans are not similar. Yes, they're totally different species, totally different animals, but the behavior is definitely translatory. The role of genetics is also true. There are certain diseases where you can acquire from your parents. You can acquire the state of prediabetes or even type 2, type 1 diabetes. But you can also have mutations in genes where your hunger signaling is off. Your ghrelin and leptin levels are off. But that's also I'm going to leave that for experts for future episodes, okay? And then lack of physical activity is another one. Lack of physical, we don't move enough nowadays. We have 9-to-5 jobs. We have schoolwork. We are on our desk every single day. And so we don't move enough at all. And so that could also contribute to obesity. Simple habits like even taking a 30-minute walk after every meal or even 15-minute walk after every meal can help with obesity management. But we don't do it. And most people in the United States live in areas that really don't allow themselves to do it, right? Like, I live in an area where the winter lasts like 9 months. And then there's also a factor of work, as I said, where people have to work long hours and they barely have time for themselves. So you have to take everything into account. And then lack of nutrition knowledge. I feel like this is the smallest chunk. People generally know what is healthy and what is not. I think what really is the issue is that we really don't know how many calories or how much energy a food has. Right? We really don't know. Like, if you see a plate of French fries, you really don't know how much to consume. If you have a potato, you know that one potato will make you full. But this French fry is fried, it's processed. You're going to dip it into sauces. So you really don't really know how much energy you're getting. And plus, you're not physically active. And a combination of this is the obesity problem. It's not one particular food group. I just want to say this, right? As I mentioned with the Instagram and all the misinformation, it's not a particular food group. It's not a food. It's not a physiological marker like blood sugars. it's not one thing that contributes to obesity. It is multiple different things, and you have to peel the layers one by one, understand the layers one by one, so you can take control of your health. And that is what I believe in. Underestimating calories is one of the biggest things that really can cause you to be obese. I have made a YouTube video on this, but just to sum this study up, this study is relatively new, but underreporting of energy intake is a big issue. And so if you can see this graph, right, the black bars, they represent total energy expenditure, and I'm sure they used high quality measurements to measure the total daily energy expenditure. So let's just say this person one, it looks like their metabolic rate is about 2,500 calories. They need 2,500 calories to maintain their weight. But their reported intake looks like they think that the reported intake is just 1,000 calories, right? And there's a deviation in the unreported intake here. Okay, this person one is maybe underestimating intake, right? Totally underestimating intake. And then let's say person 7 is overestimating intake. But what they found was we are so bad at assessing energy in certain foods. One of the reasons why there is a obesity crisis is because we really don't know how much calories / energy we should be taking in. You need to understand what is causing you to obese. It's probably not genetics. So I took genetics out of the whole equation, because once you think that your problem is genetic, you're not going to lose weight. You're not going to keep that weight off. Okay? So what are you getting in this podcast? Why you should be even watching this? Are you just watching it because of my weight loss story? Well, I think that's a great start for you. But I think why you should watch the whole part, or I will probably put the timestamps in the description. You can jump from section to section so that you can get everything out from this podcast, or a certain section out from this podcast. And so we'll be getting into sounds of calories, why you should believe in calories, why calories are real. We will go into what actually takes to create an energy deficit or a calorie deficit. I like to use energy deficit because people sometimes they feel like saying calories is just cringy. So I'm using energy deficit. And this would be with and without calorie counting. I do understand that some people do not like calorie counting, and that is the reason why I have guides and slides that explain things that you can do if you don't like calorie counting. Does meal timing matter? What's the role of exercise in fat loss, weight loss? How to actually take action. And then how to solve common problems during weight loss. Some of the common problems during weight loss is weight fluctuations. If you don't lose any weight in 3 weeks, like, what are you going to do? Okay? If you go on a keto diet, what are you going to do? You're going to lose initial quick weight, but then there's a weight loss. What if you hit a roadblock? So I have come up with a lot of common problems and I've solved it for you in this podcast. And then last 3 sections are really important, okay? Why do people regain weight? This is really important because we can all talk about fat loss, weight loss, but what about after you achieve weight loss? What about after you have success with weight loss? What about after that? Like, it's not a finish line, it's a starting line, actually, when you lose a lot of weight. And then how to prevent weight gain. That's also an important section. And lastly, my top habits and tips, my cheat day rules, my eating out guide. That will be all covered in this podcast. And this is the reason why I have put 2 weeks into this podcast, evidence-based, research-based, and anecdotal information in this podcast. Without further ado, let's get started. And I'm glad this slide popped up. And if anyone is listening this on Spotify, I highly recommend using YouTube to watch this episode. But I'm really going to try my best to explain what's on the slides vocally for listeners on not Spotify, actually Apple Podcasts. My bad. I'm not on Spotify just yet. But if you don't lose any weight after learning from this podcast, I will coach you for free. Just DM me Transformation to get started. There will be certain requirements, like any sign-up process. But if you don't lose weight, and if you're currently not losing weight, and even if you don't watch the whole podcast, honestly, how would I know? So DM me Transformation. I will coach you for free. This is my promise. And I don't really care about the money process. I really do care that if I can make a change in one person's life, that would be the most fulfilling thing in my life. So if you have come across this slide, please, if you want to lose weight for free, there will be certain requirements though, but you need to transform. You need to DM me Transformation so you can get started right now. Science of calories. Why calories matter. It doesn't matter actually what diet you choose. It really doesn't matter. Keto, you can overeat on keto. Many people go on keto to lose weight. Totally fine. If that's what you want to do, totally fine. But I think if you're jumping from diet to diet, if you're doing keto diet, organic food diet, vegetarian diet, vegan diet, carnivore diet, flexible diet, you're jumping from diet to diet. You're not going to see consistent results. And with keto, you're taking about 80% to 90% fats in your diet. Fats are really dense. It's really hard. It will be really hard for you to lose weight and maintain maybe weight with keto. You think you won't have carb cravings? Will you be that strong mentally? Those are the questions that you need to answer. Personally, I can't do keto. I won't do keto and would never ever do keto. This is what I believe. Unless if I have a mental health problem or like a psychiatric problem like epilepsy or neurologic disorder like epilepsy, then maybe I'll do keto. If I have cancer, maybe I'll do keto. But if I'm like this forever, like disease free, I would never do keto. But my point is, any of these diets can make you overweight and can not help you lose weight if you are eating more than you move. Simple calorie. There's a simple energy balance equation. If you eat more than you move, you will gain fat, and that is regardless of what diet you choose. And the reason why is a couple of reasons why, honestly. If you don't see calories, doesn't mean they don't exist. Just like gravity. If you can't see gravity, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Like Newton created the laws of gravity, like those laws, even though he didn't see it. Okay? Even though calories, if you don't see calories, if you don't see how much energy is in a banana, doesn't mean calories don't exist. It's a whole field of science that you are defying, and you say that calories are unreal. I think that's a very ignorant and arrogant statement that people on social media like to share, right? And you shouldn't believe those people, because you have to look at actual research. Just go to PubMed, just type calories, energy balance, calories. Number one reason why, at the whole, like objective reason why people gain weight is when they eat more than they move. Calories is the best unit of measurement of energy we have. And please let me know if you have anything better than calories, okay? Because I would love to know. I would love to not count calories. So please let me know if you invent something or you find something better. And I'm sick and tired of social media gurus trying to sell you misinformation by saying calories don't exist. That is why you cannot see progress, because they're telling you something that you want to believe in. But that's not true. And calorie calculations, in fact, are highly logical. You can predict your weight loss. Like if you, again, slash 500 calories, you know this. For, let's say, 10 weeks, you will, on average, you will lose 10 pounds, give or take 2 pounds maybe. So you can predict your progress. And that is why I like calorie counting. I'm not saying everyone should calculate calories, but you should have an idea what you overeat on. Because for me personally, when I log my foods every day, or when I have that habit of logging my foods, calculating my calories, protein, carbs, fats, I have a general idea what I overeat on. So I have two options. Either I have to portion control the foods that I overeat on, or I have to cut them out completely, because that's a trigger, right? And so it gives me an idea when I do calorie logging. If calories are real, then you might say, my diet sucks, right? No, that's absolutely false. Why? Dietary adherence is the biggest predictor of weight loss success. They did a study, 2005, a randomized control trial, where they put individuals in different diet groups. And the participants were able to choose what kind of diet they like to follow. And so Atkins diet is a low-carb diet. Zone diet is a low-carb but balanced diet. Weight Watchers diet is a carb-restricted diet. And Ornish diet is a fat-restricted diet. So what happened is, when you look at the left graph here, there's absolutely no significant weight change when you compare diets. That means the weight that you lose on a particular diet is very similar to the weight that you lose on if you are on a different diet. Okay, so if I was to do a keto diet for 30 days, and if I had to do, let's say in another universe, I did a low carb balanced diet, right? A zone, or even actually Ornish diet. Let's just say I did Ornish diet, because it's kind of like an opposite of keto. So I would have lost the same amount of weight in both diets. Maybe 30 days I lost 20 pounds on keto. In alternative universe, I would have lost similar, maybe 22 pounds, but pretty similar. And the right graph here shows that the level of adherence is what creates a successful weight loss. The people who adhered or the people who stuck to their diets had a more favorable weight loss and a more sustainable weight loss. And it was significant. P-value is 0.001. So they significantly lost weight if they adhered to their diet. So the sum of this, to overall, choose a diet that you can stick to, preferably forever. Now, forever is a huge word, right? But in other words, stick to your normal dieting pattern. I think most people do flexible dieting. Most people enjoy eating donuts. Most people enjoy eating pancakes. Most people enjoy eating like fried food. Like I love samosas. I enjoy them. I'm not going to cut them. I enjoy eating pizza. I'm not going to cut it. I'm not going to cut it for what? Because this ultimately shows if you can stick to a diet where you can incorporate your favorite foods, you are going to have a favorable weight loss. You're going to have an easier weight loss. Total daily energy expenditure is the energy you produce by just existing on an average day. I have mentioned this because it's important for you to understand this, because if you don't have knowledge on this, and when we go into the preventing weight gain section, you will be really not, like you will have a good understanding of what happens when you lose weight and then what happens to people who regain weight, you will have a much better understanding if you understand this total daily energy expenditure equation. So total daily expenditure is divided into 4 subcategories. BMR is your basal metabolic rate, which is the majority of your metabolic rate. Now, basal metabolic rate is your resting output of your energy. So that is, just imagine yourself just laying on the bed all day or sitting on a chair all day without doing any movements, okay? Like you're totally stable. And that is your BMR for the day. Now, what determines your BMR? It's your muscle mass, it's your fat mass, and your hormonal signaling that affects your BMR. And then the next thing is non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which is just NEAT, and that's just unconscious activity. Like me moving my hands, me speaking, me doing anything that is unconscious, right? Me maybe tapping my legs below my desk. That's all NEAT. And then thermic effect of food is the calories that you burn just simply by digesting food. The food you eat needs to be digested, and that requires body's energy and body's resources to burn that food. And lastly is exercise activity thermogenesis, and that is your deliberate exercise. That's like walking outside, going to the gym, all of that stuff. Even standing at or walking at your work all day, being on your feet all day, like all those is like exercise, your deliberate exercise that you get. And so your resting metabolic rate, or BMR, is non-controllable. You cannot really control, but anything else is controllable. I have to say, like NEAT, I don't think you can control NEAT. You can control thermic effect of food, and you can control exercise activity thermogenesis. So disregard NEAT from being controllable. But what about hormones? Calories you burn cannot account for hormones, right? Well, it's all inside that equation. When we talked about hormonal signaling, I meant key hormones like thyroid hormone, right? Thyroid hormone is a regulator of metabolic rate. It can increase your BMR when needed. It could stimulate lipolysis and lipogenesis. And it could increase adaptive thermogenesis, meaning adaptive thermogenesis is burning calories in particular situations and adapting to it. And then lastly, stimulating beta oxidation for fatty acids. And that is breaking down fatty acids into smaller parts so that your citric acid cycle can use that for ATP, aka energy. And so we will leave this topic for an obesity specialist, an endocrinologist, for a future episode. But this is the goal of explaining this is when you look at BMR, it is accounting for your hormonal signaling. And one of the hormones is thyroid hormones. And then the next thing is your lean body mass. The amount of lean body mass you have determines the resting metabolic rate. So people who have higher muscle mass and higher lean body mass will have a higher BMR. And that is exciting for people who want to build muscle. And then leptin has a controversial role. And that is the reason why I want to leave that for experts in the field of endocrinology and obesity medicine. Leptin levels somewhat influence your metabolic rate. But that, again, we'll leave that for experts. Above my pay grade. Now, setting up your calorie requirements. You might have seen this. This is NASM's metabolic calculator, or the calories you need to lose a goal, to get to your goal weight. So you can simply go to any calculator, but I'll put this in the description, and you can fill your information out. You can pick out your activity levels, and then you can put your goal weight, your current weight, and the number of days, let's say 6 months. And so I'll need to eat 4,450 calories if I want to get to 150 pound. Then put that in MyFitnessPal and you're good to go. Okay, I'm done. This podcast officially ends. But it's not that easy. You cannot just take a number from online and just plug it into MyFitnessPal and just expect to lose weight, build muscle, without even understanding the science behind everything. Because what happens if you hit a roadblock? What happens if you regain weight? What happens if you are stuck? And that is the reason why understanding macros is really, really important. Understanding requirements is really important, because we don't want to half-ass our journey. We want to take control of our journey, and we want to take control of the journey after the journey. You want to take control of what happens after we reach our destination. And so for vegetarians and vegans, this is for you. Aim to get at least 1.2 to 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. For example, I'm 77 kilograms. So I will take around 92.4 grams of protein to 123.2 grams of protein. I would also use upper end of that range if I'm lifting weights. So if I was a vegetarian, I would get about 123 grams of protein. And the reason why is when you are weightlifting, you are breaking down your muscles. In order to build new tissue during your recovery process, you need to have available amino acids from your proteins sources. So that is the reason why I would use the upper end. And these values are not made up. Links will be in the description for everything that is mentioned in this podcast. For carbs and fats, I would aim to prioritize fruits, veggies, and lentils. Lentils will have fiber, and that is the reason why I will prioritize them. And I would aim to get at least 20 grams of fiber. We'll start low, and even 15 if you are really amateur to this journey. Okay, and I would additionally, I want to add, I would enjoy a 200 to 300 calorie dessert daily. I don't think that's wrong. If you're thinking about sustainability, you might want to swap with your favorite snack or anything that really helps you with your weight loss process. You can have it as your reward for the day, for working hard, or for staying on a calorie deficit. The simple reward of 200-300 calories, depending on your caloric requirements for the day. Limit saturated fats to 20 to 25 grams, but do not fear butter, bacon, oil, avocados. Do not fear fats, but limit saturated fats to about 20 to 25 grams. This is for omnivores. For omnivores, it's just easier to get protein in. And so the new range for omnivores would be 1.6 to 2.4 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. At 77 kilograms, I would be eating 123.4 grams to 184.8 grams of protein. And again, I'm going to use the upper end because I lift weights, but it's a range. 184 grams is, again, a lot of protein during a caloric deficit. And I think sometimes it's an overkill. I think I do just fine with about 150 grams of protein daily, and even 140. And actually, honestly, like, there was a really important festival 2 days ago. It's called Janmashtami. It's an Indian festival where I opted to not eat meat once forever. And so I used the lower limit. I got my lower limit, 123.4 grams of protein. But I have definitely had my higher days. I usually have my higher days when I am in a very low deficit. For me, low, I think 1,800 calories is pretty low of a deficit. And so I went to Cabo last February. I just like to have fun during vacations. I like to eat a lot of food. And as a result of that, I gain a little bit of weight. And so post that, I started eating high protein again, like go back to my usual diet. I usually took in about more than 160 grams of protein. Some days I did hit 180 grams of protein. And taking in 1,800 calories, I think it really helped with the satiety, with the feelings of fullness. And so just an example. And so again, same thing for carbs and fats for omnivores. Special case for obese individuals do exist for protein requirements. If you're obese, you have a lot of fat mass. And if you are 200 kg, right? If you are 200 kilograms or even 150 kilograms, getting in, let's say 1.2 to 2.4 grams of protein per kilogram is really hard. We're gonna be hitting 200 to 300 grams of protein if you have a lot of fat mass. So what I advise is, if you have a BMI of 29, if you are in the obese category of BMI, and if you have body fat percentage of 25% or more, you should take this range. You should do 1.2 to 1.6 grams of protein per kg of body weight. So if you're 100 kg, I think that's 120 to 160 grams of protein, which is pretty doable. This is for vegans, vegetarians, and it's for omnivores. So, and also using the upper end really helps. And so this is what I would do if I was obese again. So how would you create an energy deficit? There are a few ways to create an energy deficit, but we will start from the first level of creating the energy deficit. For me, the first level is intermittent fasting with 1 meal a day, which will be coming up next. But just the goal for people, you should aim to hit protein goal daily, even if it's lower end. Like the other day, as I said, there was an Indian festival. I cannot eat meat. I cannot eat like certain foods too, but I didn't eat meat, so I hit the lower range of protein, which is 123.4 grams of protein. And then I would split calories and macros for carbs and fats, right? And so if you want the maintenance calories, you can get your maintenance from any of the calculators, okay? It'll give you a rough range of maintenance, give or take 50 to 100 calories. But my maintenance is about 2,600 calories. And so I would hit the protein goal, 4 calories per gram of protein. So let's say, so if I get 150 grams of protein, that's 600 calories. And so 2,600 minus 600 would be 2,000 calories. And then 2,000 calories, I will split it evenly, unevenly. It's all up to you. Some days high, low. It will all go towards carbs and fats. So that's how I roll. And I like this method because highly logical. I also have a history of binge eating disorder, and so I like this way. I like the logical route, and so that is what I do. And so what's the deal with protein? Let's just answer that. There was a this is a randomized control trial, and what they compared is 1.2 grams of protein what is it enough compared to 2.4 grams of protein? Well, what they found is that during a 4-week 40% energy deficient diet, that's a lot, okay, but still, overweight recreationally active men consuming 2.4 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day experience greater increase in lean body mass, which is also encompasses muscle mass, and losses in fat mass than those consuming a diet containing 1.2 gram protein per kilogram of body weight per day when combined with a high volume of resistance exercise. So why do you want to preserve your lean body mass? As I said, lean body mass is also your muscle mass. You want to preserve that because you don't want to lose strength, and you don't really want to lose muscle because muscle is linked to metabolic rate. And what this shows is high volume of resistance training, hard resistance training, coupled with higher ranges of protein minimizes muscle loss and increases fat loss. Because if you minimize muscle loss, you're indirectly influencing or decreasing fat loss. Okay? Majority of your weight is coming from fat, and that should be the goal. It's not the goal for everyone, but I think when you look at all these studies and when you want to maximize your body composition, I think you should be aiming for fat loss. And so I have a whole section of how to minimize muscle loss, okay? But this is like a little teaser. And so what this means is this answers actually quite a lot of questions, but also one of the main questions is how much protein should I take? Like in what range should I take? Choosing the least restrictive range will minimize muscle loss during a deficit. And so you want to take a range between 1.2 to 2.4. And we can speculate here, right? Omnivores will be in the upper end. That means people like me and other omnivores will have an easier time to hitting that 2.4 grams per kilogram body weight limit. What that also means that I could say that omnivores may be superior at losing fat and preserving muscle during weight loss. Just speculation. It's not, well, you can still get 2.4 grams per kilogram of kg of protein, but that's on your skill level and that's on your dieting pattern and that's on your lifestyle choices. I'm not saying you cannot as a vegetarian, but looks like omnivores will be superior because it's just easier for them to get protein in. So what would be easier for you? And that's the question that you need to answer. Would it be easier for you to either create a deficit from a meal or a snack? Or is it slashing 400 to 600 calories? Or is it both? In my opinion, it's actually easier to do both. Sometimes you want to slash a meal. Sometimes you want to slash a snack. Sometimes, some days you want to feel logical and just cut out 400 to 600 calories. Okay? So I think you have to answer this for yourself. What is easier for you? And this is my priority list for weight loss. The first priority, the number one priority if you're talking about fat loss, weight loss, is creating an energy deficit of about 400 to 600 calories, whether it's cutting through a meal, snack, or simply cutting out the calories. Except from protein, I would cut the calories out from carbs or fats, and then I would limit excess ultra-processed foods to about one serving, whether favorite chips, favorite cereal, anything that is ultra-processed. Well, what is ultra-processed? It has a lot of ingredients in it. It's not one ingredient. It's made, it's fried. It creates cognitive, it's just a shit show, because once you eat one, you eat many. And I think that's when you have to limit it to one serving. And then the second goal is to hit your protein goal, because we know that it maintains muscle mass. And then I did a video a long time back on the biology of high protein diet. And I think it was a meta-analysis where it was examining the differences in fullness from different macronutrients, carbs, proteins, fats. What they found was protein has shown to increase satiety hormones and satiety signals in the highest manner, in the most significant manner compared to carbs and fats. And so I would prioritize protein just because of the fullness aspect. And then lastly, fiber, again, plays a role into fullness too. And this could improve additionally your metabolic health, your cardiovascular health, your gut health, and much more. And so this is my priority list. And then, I mean, I could have added a fourth bullet point. A fourth bullet point would be just have something that makes you, that feels rewarding, right? Have a snack that makes you feel rewarding. And that also ties back to the point number one, where you're limiting it to one serving. So if you're eating clean all day, and if you haven't even touched an ultra processed foods, I think it's critical to have some of your favorite stuff. I think that is really sustainable in the long term. I think this is a very cool study. And the reason why protein and fiber are essential is because they did a study, and this is by Shafari et al. In other words, Shafari and colleagues. It was conducted in 2018, where they gave, I think, two groups of people. I think there has to be, right? It's a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled study. And so they gave participants 160 calorie protein shake, where it also had 6 grams of fiber in it. So the composition was 17 grams of protein and 6 grams of fiber. And what they found was that administering this and then waiting 30 minutes reduced their desire to eat pizza, the people who had that protein shake with fiber. And so what really this really shows is that how protein and fiber can really impact your appetite and help you out when you are in an energy deficit. And you can apply this to real life. This is really, really cool study, because I had just had a pizza night the other day, and I knew that I was going to have pizza. I made a priority to get about 120. I already had 120 grams of protein. I had 1,000 calories left, and I also had my fiber in. So I had my protein in, my fiber in. I was only, I think, 1,000 to 1,100 calories in throughout the day. I had like 1,300 calories, 1,300 to 1,400 calories left when you're talking about maintenance, right? And so I had less desire to like have a lot of pizza slices. I just had 3 slices of pizza, and I think that is pretty low for me, because I love pizza and I can go nuts on pizza. And so protein and fiber helps me out really well, because it manages my hunger, manages my cravings, and just creates this less desire to keep going. And I think it really helps you out especially if you are in an energy deficit. This is what I was referring to. Well, this is the first level of intermittent fasting. Well, that's 1 meal a day. And 1 meal a day would be I'm just gonna say for vegetarians, it's gonna be really hard to get 1.2 grams of protein, but if you do it smartly, you can really get it. It's very difficult. My point is very difficult to get 90 plus grams of protein in one meal. That's even for carnivores. And so what if I had to have a 1 meal a day, it would be 1 scoop of whey, 16 ounces of chicken or steak, beans and lentils and potatoes, or some sort of healthy carbs that has fiber. Then I would have an all healthy snack and a dessert. Excuse my writing. And all of that would be around 2,000 calories, 120 grams of protein, 190 carbs, and 84 grams of fats. That is what I would do. So for vegetarians, you want to, your honestly, the best source of protein when you're doing 1 meal a day is having 2 scoops of whey in water, because it's liquid. Liquid doesn't really make you full that much. Just imagine if you ate 240 calories of chicken. I'm going to speculate that is about 60 to 70 grams of protein, lean chicken. And then if you have two scoops of whey, that's about 50 grams of protein. That doesn't really produce any relative satiety to cooked chicken. And so that is what I would do if I had to do 1 meal a day again. 2 scoops of protein, before my meal. And then I would have, if I was vegetarian, I would have these sources. Like these top sources would be like lentils, beans, chickpeas, tofu, paneer, low-fat cottage cheese, fruits, vegetables, potatoes. Now, I wouldn't eat this, obviously. I'm not a psycho, and I wouldn't eat all of this alone. It would be mixed in with my food, and that is how I would do it. If you're omnivore, generally really easy. Top choices are chicken, hands down. And you can also have ground meat, like ground beef, 9370 lean beef. And then you can have beans, lentils, fruits, veggies, and potatoes. That's what I would do. It would be really easy for omnivores to get that upper limit of protein. Now, this is a restrictive range, right? As you can see, just because you're doing one meal a day. And that is my example. My example is pretty straightforward here. What about cheat meals? I think everyone deserves a break from eating set foods, like set foods in your week. And so maybe give yourself one cheat meal a week, but you're still following laws of one meal a day, right? But you're also getting in your protein. But you need to get in your protein if you want a cheat meal. Let's say you're having a pizza that day, right? Maybe you should have 2 scoops of protein before having pizza. I think that will get you to 90 plus grams of protein, right? And again, following the rules of one meal a day, which is one meal a day in the span of like 1 to 2 hours. And if you're omnivore, you you can maybe have more cheat meals, but cheat meals are very misleading because an omnivore can go to Moe's, Chipotle, Chick-fil-A and get protein in, and it might not be a cheap meal compared to how many places a vegetarian can go out and have a healthier meal, get protein in. And that's my point here. With omnivores, it's much easier to get your protein in and have those meals low in carbs and fats if you go to the right places. I have more in my eating out guide at the end of this podcast, but that is generally my opinion on this. If you are someone who likes to have 2 meals a day, and if you want to also do intermittent fasting, I think that's easier than 1 meal a day. And I think that's the best option. I did it back in the day, back in November, when I got down to 159 pounds due to a deficit, and then I started a mini bulk after that. But anyways, what I did is I did 2 meals a day while I was cutting some weight. And then what I did is my first meal was a pre-workout, and my second meal was the post-workout. So I would have my workout right between the 2 meals. And what you can honestly aim to get 50 to 60% of your protein in the first meal. Interestingly, now you can increase your options. You can now have eggs. You can have egg whites, protein cereal, low-fat yogurt, low-fat milk, protein pancakes, and then oatmeal with whey. So you can have all of those. You can increase your protein intake. If I had to restart my weight loss again, I would use this. I would work out in the middle. I would do less cardio. I would focus on resistance training. I would have a lot of protein. And I think that this is what I would do. And this is my example, right? I hope you can make it out on the video version of this podcast, where I have this breakfast example. This is what meal 1 looks like. It's some sort of a wrap. It's a bacon, egg, and cheese wrap. 4 eggs, 2 pieces of bacon, 1 slice of American cheese, 1 carb balanced tortilla. And then I also have this Go Toasted Berry Crisp from Kashi brand is an absolute game changer. It has 9 grams of protein, but it also has like 9 to 10 grams of fiber, I believe. And the macros is phenomenal. 54 grams of protein, 60 carbs, 44 fats, 770 calories. That's a very good breakfast. That's a very good first meal. And post or pre-workout is really good too. 60 grams of protein, 1.5 hours before workout. I think this is a very nice meal. And then lastly, dinner would be some sort of like a Mexican bowl, and I'll be having a little guac for some healthy fats, some rice for some carbs. Again, 108 carbs to replenish some glycogen, and low in fat, which is fine because post-workout, I think carbs should be a little higher. And again, 95 grams of protein. And so the chicken you can see is 11.5 grams or 11.5 ounces of chicken. And so this is the total total for the day. It's 1900 calories, close to 150 grams of protein, 168 carbs, and 78 fats. Saturated fats a little bit higher, but we're in a deficit. So about 30 grams of saturated fat, a little higher, probably would cut it down by having not a lot of cheese and maybe like less bacon. But honestly, I won't complain with this. I also have ice cream with this meal, and a cone. So I have a ice cream on a cone. This is how flexible dieting works, and it really works great for me. And then 50 grams of sugar, it's not bad when you're working out and stuff. It's really not bad. Yes, blood sugar spikes you can view as bad, but if you're sitting all day, they're definitely bad. But if you're using those blood sugar spikes, then they're not bad. 41 grams of fiber, we hit the goal. And so this is an example, and I hope you can take this as an inspiration. There's much more to come though. If you think this is lots of effort, then I assure you that you will transform yourself, because repetition of calorie logging and understanding what foods you like, counting your protein, resistance training, they will get you results, and I assure you that. But if you don't like counting calories, then I also have something for you, like as I promised. Classic weight loss strategies you should follow are as follows here. And this is intermittent fasting without counting calories. If you had to eat one meal a day, you need to rely on the classic things. The number one classic thing is having no liquid calories. And that would be sodas, juice, Starbucks drinks, right? Expensive Starbucks drinks that has 700 calories in one drink. I think you should stay away from that if you don't like counting calories, because you are gonna miscount your energy balance, or you're gonna it will just bring you out of a deficit. Except you should accept like black coffee, tea, water, diet sodas, and protein shakes are fine. Protein shakes, you need them because of the protein. Diet sodas are also fine. I have seen a lot of negative things about diet sodas. I don't want to hear any of it, because they are a great tool to manage weight. And I use it. I drink diet soda like 5 times a week. So I'm a great proponent for I'm all in for using diet sodas as obesity management and weight loss management. Second thing is, you have to use low calorie salad dressings and sauces. You cannot go for your traditional Caesar dressing that has 190 calories in 2 tablespoons. That's not a salad anymore. That's like a junk McDonald's salad at that point. And you're using like 2 tablespoons is not even that much. Like, it's just like, I can't even like show you because it's so stupidly high in calories. So you're better off using low calorie salad dressings and sauces. Like even ranch, you have to use low calorie stuff. And then the next thing is, what about the other fats, like healthy fats, like butter and oil? Well, think like if you have to use butter and oil, I think you should also have some sort of measurement for it. And what the best thing I came up is a coin-sized butter scoop. Okay, and that's the best thing I can come up with. That's around 1 serving, 1 tablespoon, and then 1 medium spoon oil. That's also like a medium spoon. That's from like a half serving to a serving type. And this is when you're cooking stuff, okay? And then you're putting it on a bread or something. Like, generally try to follow this. And again, more servings you eat, the more calories you're going to pile up on fats. And I'm not saying we should fear fats. I'm saying you should control the fats. You should also consider eating chicken, lean chicken, and minimizing fatty and processed meat. Like hot dogs, they have a lot of fats. They have a lot of, even breakfast sausages have a lot of fats. They have more fats than protein. And so you really want to, actually the best thing to do is to cut them out from your breakfast. And maybe you want to opt for a chicken sausage, or like lean chicken breast for dinners or lunches, okay? And the serving size for those will be 2 big fists, right? So this would be a normal serving, but if you want to consider that you are on a high protein diet, you want to get like 2 fists of meat and eat them. This is what, and that is usually going to equal to around 70 to 100 grams of protein. That's the best measurement I can give you. And then it's also it's also essential for you to consider to have fiber foods like lentils, beans, and oats. I think that's 1 cup a day. That's a great start for people, and that is what usually I do. If there are lentils made at my house, I usually do 1 cup, and then cup to rice ratio is probably like lentils to rice ratio is probably around 1 to 1.5. And so if it's 1 cup of fibrous lentils, it would be half cup of rice, and that's how I go about doing that. So you have to use some sort of measurement. Even though you're not counting calories, you have to find out some ways to control the foods you're eating. And then when I shared that you should, when you're eating high calorie dense foods, ultra processed foods, you should focus on 1 serving, 1 scoop of ice cream. And it has to be 1 medium scoop of ice cream, not 1 large scoop of ice cream. But a scoop of ice cream is generally like half a fist, okay? Honestly, like a half a fist. Because if you have a food scale and if you measure out the serving size for some ice creams, and I don't know if people have tried Penn State Creamery's ice cream. They are so good. And I really like the Keeny Beanie ice cream for... it's just the little chocolate chips in it, and then it's just chocolate. It's all chocolate, and I love chocolate. And so when I put that on a scale, 1 serving was like half of my fist. 1 serving had 270 calories, and that's insane to me. And it's kind of sad because I love that ice cream, but I cannot have it like full flow. I cannot just pull out a bowl and just fill it up with ice cream. And then that goes hand in hand with chips, cereal, and other processed snacks. Just for the reference, you will be surprised at what a bowl of cereal looks like to you. People might say that a bowl of cereal is what they have on the left. In fact, a bowl of cereal that we count as a serving is a bowl of cereal that is on your right. That's 1 serving. For people who are listening to this, I have 2 pictures up side by side, and both of those bowls are filled with cereal. One of them on the left is 97 grams and looks like a bowl of cereal, but the one on the right is also a bowl of the cereal, but that is 35 grams and it's around a serving. So the picture on the right is around 140 calories, plus milk, it might be around 250 calories. But the bowl on the left, which is a hearty bowl of cereal, a typical bowl of cereal, with milk, it will be probably around 500 calories. So you can just, it's twice as many calories, maybe thrice as many calories. So there's a lack of, there's a distortion in perception, right? And during intermittent fasting, you have to do some sort of restriction. You cannot just like count. You cannot just eat like you did before. It is extremely hard to create self-control towards ultra-processed foods. And so that is the reason why I like to limit them. And calorie counting gives me a way to maintain my healthy weight, because I'm kind of creating portion control and everything else. So if I had to eat 3 meals a day, this is an actual example, and this is what I do right now. Sometimes I eat 4 meals a day, but sometimes, as most likely regular days, I eat 3 meals a day. And so meal 1, again, a breakfast wrap, nothing changes, except I don't see, well, I have 1 less egg, okay? I have 1 less egg, I have 2 egg breakfast wraps, and then this meal 2 is a post-workout meal. I have a protein shake, I have some fruits, and I have some pretzels because I love pretzel. Philly Soft Pretzel Factory, or pretzels from the pretzel factory, are absolutely bomb, and so I love them. And so I have actually had them as my post-workout some days. And so that's my meal 2. And then meal 3 is, again, similar meal, but then less protein, okay? Because I'm spacing my protein out. It's 6 ounces of chicken instead of 11.5 ounces of chicken. So with this, so my goal here is, you can see I'm still hitting the same amount of calories. I'm hitting about, it's 2,050 calories and 139 grams of protein. That's in our range. 252 carbs and 68 fats. I'm getting fruits in. I am getting unhealthy foods in, like Philly's Pretzel Factory. I'm eating ice cream. I'm spacing out my protein. I'm having three high protein meals, and I'm working out between meal 1 and meal 2. And so this is what I do currently, and I'm really happy with this pattern. And so this is just an inspiration for you. Meal 3 is typically, it could be in intermittent fasting, but it could also not be in the intermittent fasting schedule. It's up to you. But when you eat more than 3 meals, that's when usually it's harder to stick to a hardcore intermittent fasting schedule. But when we talk about intermittent fasting without counting calories, all the classic strategies apply. Making healthier options the most effective strategy. You can still enjoy your favorite foods, but you have to self-control yourself. Some of the healthy options could be opting for a baked potato instead of French fries. If you're eating at home, I think if you're having any sort of sandwiches at home or anything, and if you want cravings of fries, make fries in the air fryer with 1 tablespoon of oil using 1 whole nice potato. And I think that's the best thing you can do, because that you're making it from scratch. Ingredients are not that high. There's 2-3 ingredients. Like, you may be just adding sea salt, oil, and potato. Those are 3 ingredients, air fried. And it's actually, since it's a whole food, it's a real food. I'm not saying French fries that you get from out at a restaurant is not real food, but since you're making it at home, you have control over it. You know how many calories it is because you're measuring that potato, right? With a food scale, you are much less likely to overeat on it. Because honestly, half of the French fries from the potato can make you full. And the next big thing is limiting your sugary drinks. Like, you don't have to drink regular soda. You don't have to drink it. You can go and drink zero sugar. Okay, it's not the same. I'm sick and tired of listening to people, listening to influencers that sugary drinks and non-sugar drinks, zero sugar drinks, are absolutely the same. They're not absolutely the same. A YouTube video will be coming out on those claims, and so keep an eye out on that. I don't believe it, neither should you. And I'm just sick and tired of people telling me that, oh, zero sugar, Coke Zero is the same, it causes you cancer. No, it does not cause cancer. Meal timing during energy deficit is critical too. Consider at least 30 minutes after waking to eat. Just the reason being is that the faster you start eating in your day, the more calories you're eating, and what the faster you start eating in your day, the more calories you're already ingesting early in the day. That means you won't have calories left at the end of the day, when shit could go out of control. Another example, let's say you have $2,000 to spend in the day. For some of you, that might be like a lot of money. For me, it's like a lot of money. If I had $2,000 to spend right now in the entire day, so I want you to think of it like that. So you would do, what you want to do is like kind of save the money towards the end of the day so that you can buy more expensive things. And I know it's not the best example, but this is like a really close example of what I'm trying to say. And there are also like maybe hormonal effects from eating too early. Huberman has said that on his podcast, but 30 minutes to an hour is kind of the earliest you should eat, from my understanding right now at this moment with my brain. And consider eating last meal at least 3 hours before bedtime. Okay. There's several reasons why. I think the first reason why is you don't want your digestion interfere with sleeping. Some cultures have a very bad habit of eating too late, and then that could interfere with your sleep. And at the end of the day, you could say energy balance matters. Yes, it matters, but you need to get highest quality sleep. And sleep is a key regulator of your metabolism. And eating late, close to your bedtime, can interfere with your sleep, can make you sleep deprived, or reduce your sleep quality. Last thing is, you might have wondered this. Well, what about fasting all day? Isn't that more weight loss? Not necessarily. Fasting has shown that it's similar to continuous calorie restriction. And this is a meta-analysis conducted in 2018. They wanted to see if continuous energy restriction is similar to intermittent energy restriction, which is intermittent fasting. And so when they do a meta-analysis, they create this forest plot. And in the midline of that is no change between the two effects they're trying to see. And so one side is intermittent fasting, the other side is calorie restriction. And that diamond shape here shows which way is the effect. And so if the diamond is right around the midline, that means there's no effect between, there's no difference between the two types of restrictions. And what you can take away from this is one or the other doesn't matter. You can choose intermittent fasting, or you can choose continuous calorie restriction. Both are comparable and non-significant in terms of weight loss. If I went back to my journey and if I continuously restricted calories, I would have gotten the same weight loss. Okay? But it's just that what is easier for you? At that time, intermittent fasting was the most easiest for me, and so that's what I did. And so this meta-analysis of randomized control trials shows there's no difference between intermittent fasting and continuous calorie restriction in terms of weight loss. And then again, eating way before bedtime has shown to have improvement in metabolic and sleep health. Okay, it's this when you look at the circadian view of habits and feeding and weight loss, you generally find is if you're aligned to your circadian rhythm, if you're aligned, if you're asleep, if you have consistent sleep, if you have consistent meal timings. Why? Because sometimes in response to ghrelin, the hunger hormone, what happens is you produce digestive gastric juices, right, before your meal. So ghrelin and the anticipation of your meal kind of primes the stomach with digestive juices or hormones so that the digestion could happen in an efficient manner. And so that's the circadian view of the of fat loss. So basically what it says is if you eat before bedtime, like if you eat way before bedtime, and if you have this rhythm, if you have that consistency in you, that okay, I'll eat every day at like 4 p.m. or 5 p.m., like even 6 p.m. Like every day, you don't deviate from that, your weight loss might be really efficient, and that's what it's saying. And I don't want to take a lot of different perspectives, because the most important thing is taking action. What is the role of exercise? Role of exercise is immense in your journey. I made a reel, how to lose weight, and as I look back, I regret that reel a little bit, because the last point that I mentioned in that reel was don't do cardio. And the reason why I feel bad is because that reel was seen by 18,000 people, and I kind of regret that I said don't do cardio for weight loss. Cardio could be anything from just simply walking every day, getting your 10,000 steps in. But I want to take that back, and I want to say, yes, cardio will influence your weight loss. And so what is the role of exercise? So exercise in TDE is the exercise activity thermogenesis. Any exercise you do impacts your EAT. What I like to think of is if you have regular movement in your day, if you move regularly, if you get about 7,000 to 10,000 steps, maybe you resistance train, that will give you an optimized metabolic output and optimized EAT. You're maximizing those last 5 to 10%. And if you don't exercise, you will need to pick the sedentary option when you try to calculate your maintenance calories in one of the online calculators. Therefore, you will need to eat less. For people who are sedentary, those 5% of the 5% of EAT doesn't even count for you. And then sometimes you have to cut back more calories if you're not active. And so I like to think of being active as just having an optimized metabolic output. Accounting for exercise is interesting because we really don't know how many calories we burn. Like, we cannot rely on our fitness trackers. We cannot rely on cardio machines to tell us how many calories we burn. We can just take a week and average it out, okay? But what I have seen that you need to pick the lower end of your activity level, because it's better to underestimate than overestimate, like calories, and that goes to exercise as well. If you're active 3 days a week, choose the lightly active option. If you don't drop 1 pound per week at 500 calorie deficit, for me it's 2126 calories, I'll subtract 100 calorie more to account for discrepancies in TDE. The point is that there could be tremendous variations in the EAT, the exercise activity thermogenesis. And that could slow down your weight loss. And so it's just better for you to underestimate your activity level. And so right now, I like to think that I do hard exercise 6 to 7 days a week. I'm just going to do the lower end, just pick one less. And that would be moderately active, which is 3 to 5 days a week. Cardio, again, influences your fat loss journey. Pick any cardio you want, but you should have an idea of tracking, because if you don't track your cardio, when you hit a roadblock, you can either increase your cardio or you can decrease your cardio, depending on your rate of fat loss. And there's also a hunger component to cardio. If you do intense cardio, your hunger might go up, and you really don't want that. And so it's essential for you to have an idea of cardio tracking or activity tracking. I think the best way to do this is by either counting steps or your minutes in a session. So I like to get around 7,000 to 10,000 steps a day. And the reason being is that calories that your fitness tracker shows is really inaccurate. They're off by 27 to 93% in a study done by Stanford. And that's not cool, because that's again a discrepancy in TDEE, which you don't want. And so pick the cardio that you can do consistently 3 to 4 times a week. But again, aim for the 7K steps that most people have Apple Watches or any other fitness tracker. Aim for 7K steps daily, no rest day, okay? Like, that's just, I think, again, healthiest metabolic output is your movement incorporated in your TDEE. That's how I like to think about it. And then again, you can lastly count by minutes. 30 minutes for 3 days, 30 minutes for 4 days, etc. and so on and so forth. So what is the role of weightlifting then, right? Weightlifting, like I'm very passionate about weightlifting. And this is the reason why. There have been meta-analysis done where they took individuals, energy restricted them, and saw what happens, right? And one of the dependent variable here is, what they found was in this meta-analysis that you can impair growth in muscle mass, but there's not a lot of strength impairment, okay? And so what I like to think of is when I'm in deficit, my main goal would be to maintain my muscle mass. And in order to maintain my muscle mass, I need to work out hard, which is training to failure. Not every set, but maybe last set of my every exercise, maybe. And so that is what I consider training hard. And then I want to build some strength too, okay? Or maintain my strength. I think that should be the focus during a calorie deficit. The last thing you need is being small and weak. And that is unfortunately happened for me. I used to play a sport when I was obese. I was really good at the sport. I had good reflexes. I had good strength. As soon as I lost muscle mass as a function of lean body mass, I wasn't able to perform well because that sport required strength and reflexes. And so I fear that that's what happened. I fear that I lost strength, and because I wasn't doing strength training during my weight loss, like my majority of the weight loss came from was during cardio. And so that's what I regret. But that's the question you want to ask. Lifting and cardio is the most effective in answering that question. Walking 7K steps at least, or deliberate 3 to 5 cardio sessions every week is a great start, coupled with 2 to 5 lifting sessions. With 2 to 5 lifting sessions, you can split it up. If you're doing 2 sessions, you can split it up 2 full body splits. If you're doing three full body splits. If you're doing 4, upper, lower. If it's 5, you could do push, pull, leg, push, pull. If your legs are big like mine, this is the split that I use. Push, some variations of push, pull, leg, push, pull. 6 days, you can do a lot. You can do push, pull, leg, and 1 day rest. So that is what I would do, because there is another meta-analysis where they saw the preservation of lean body mass, again, when they did resistance training coupled with high protein diet and also cardio. Again, we want to maximize our fat loss and we want to minimize our lean body mass loss with the approaches that I'm sharing. Choose the least restrictive strategy for you. What is the least restrictive strategy? That's from meal timing, time restriction, exercise, macro requirements, diet patterns, and everything else. When we talked about meal timing, what's the least restrictive? How long can you go not eating after waking up? What kind of job are you doing that would allow that? Okay. Time restriction. What kind of eating window you want? Do you want to do OMAD? Is OMAD too restrictive for you? Do you want to do a 4-hour eating window? Do you want a 6-hour eating window? 8-hour, 10-hour, 12-hour? Time restriction. And another thing, again, you want to realize eating too late, close to your bedtime, might not be the best option for you. What kind of exercise you want to do? What's the least restrictive? When we talk about resistance training, what is least restrictive? Is it 2 full body splits? 3 full body splits? Is it push, pull, leg split? Least restrictive. What is least restrictive for you? What about meal types? We will be getting into meal qualities soon. And so that's how you would learn how to improve your meal qualities and choose meal types that is least restrictive for you. And then macro requirements. What is the least restrictive protein range for you? And then dieting pattern. What's the least restrictive pattern? Do you do good on a low carb diet? Well, we can do a low carb diet then. And then everything else will. The more things you learn in this podcast, you want to really ingrain this in your brain. What is the least restrictive strategy for me? How to actually take action. I can give you strategies. I can give you macro requirements. I can show you meta-analysis about muscle mass preservation and maximizing fat loss. But when you look at your life, your lifestyle, how are you actually going to put everything into action? Important questions to need to ask yourself are very important starting your weight loss journey and starting your health journey. What is my lifestyle like? Do you like partying? Do you have a lot of family events? Do you like to eat out a lot? What are my friends like? What is my family like? What is my perspective on cooking? Do I think healthy food is expensive? Do I look at nutrition labels? Do I fear carbs or fats? What is my perspective on working out? What is my stress level? Will I be judged if I start my health journey? Do I have issues with binge eating? What responsibilities do you have? All those questions are really important for you, because when we look at fat loss, you want to look at your life, where you're at. You cannot just jump on a fat loss program. You cannot just jump on a program when you have multiple family events lined up in the next few weeks, because that's gonna not help you progress at all. Friends you have, family you have, really determine the social aspect of this. Really determines. I am from a family that really loves food. I'm a product of 2 obese parents, and I'm grateful that I haven't regained weight, or I haven't gained all my weight back. It's through constant cognitive restriction. It's through constant assessing my meal qualities, increasing my protein, working out hard, doing things that people around me don't do. But I have a couple of friends who are into lifting. I have people I know, people I admire, people I look up to are into lifting. And so so you need something or someone who you can look up to so you can progress on your journey. Another thing is like your nutrition education. Do you fear carbs? Like if you fear carbs, why do you fear carbs? Like you have to get to the bottom of everything, because this is going to help you long term. It's not just for 30. This is not a 30-day weight loss program or coaching, like a 30-day challenge. This is not a challenge. This is like a warming up for your whole life. This is like the warm up before the marathon that you'll be running. What is your responsibility? Do you have kids? Are you in med school? Like, are you in a tough spot right now? These are all important questions that you need to ask. Do I have issues with binge eating? Do I eat very healthy during the week, but I go bananas on the weekends? Good news is, I'm going to give you so many solutions to all of these problems, or mostly all of these problems. But if you have any questions, any help, DM me. I'll help you out with any of the issues that I have not touched on. But I think I've touched on, I will touch on 90% of the issues that people face. What is the biggest challenge that's keeping you away from the most healthiest and the best version of yourself? That is what you have to ask yourself. What's the biggest challenge? And that is keeping you from becoming the best. There's a good news. The good news is that weight loss is in your control. It's not anyone else's control. It's not in your mom's control. It's not in your dad's control. It's not in your friend's control. And it's certainly not in people who judge you. And it's not in their control. So forget about that. Weight loss is in your control. Your belief has to be unbreakable in all this process. You have to learn certain things, priorities. You have to say no to things. Sometimes in my life, 30% of the events I go to are not helping me progress towards my goals. And I'm not narcissistic, but I'm saying that if I was better off staying at home or sleeping in or focusing on recovery, I would be much better off. That's my reasoning. So learning to say no to things, to people, is really critical. Because when you say no, you develop self-control, you develop self-respect, and it's just easier for you to be strong and confident. Next thing is cook your own meals, or try to cook your own meals. If you know how to get around in the kitchen, you are going to have an easier time. Pick out healthier meals at restaurants by prioritizing protein and fiber. Okay? And then decide how many times you want to work out. Decide how many times you want to eat out. Create a healthy balance. When we're talking about health, healthy balance is the most important thing. And lastly, you have to recognize small wins. If you lost 10 pounds in 10 weeks, recognize it. Maybe go on a vacation. Go on an all-inclusive vacation and give yourself time away from dieting. Give yourself a diet break. Go on a vacation with your family, your loved ones, or someone who you enjoy time with. Just have a healthy balance, but know when to say no. Prioritize events. And prioritize, again, certain macros like protein and healthy carbs that have fiber. Do a daily goal setting as well. What is your biggest daily struggle? Is it to get 120 grams of protein? A subcaloric diet? Is it just going to the gym? Or is it the recovery aspect? What is your biggest daily struggle, right? You have to recognize those. Put it on your to-do list. If I had a hard time getting my protein in, I would put that on my to-do list. I would just write, I need to get at least 120 grams of protein. You do a weekly goal setting. I want to get to the gym 3 times a week. I want to drink alcohol twice a week, max. That's your weekly goal setting. I don't want to party at all this week. Well, that's your congrats. That's your weekly goal setting. And so you have to look at it from like a daily lens and then a weekly lens. Because you know what? If you didn't lose any weight in like 3 weeks, you can refer back to your goal setting. You can refer back to your logs. You can refer back to your calorie logs, your MyFitnessPal. Now, if you didn't lose weight, is it because of slow metabolism or is it because of poor lifestyle choices? I'll have to say that it will be because of poor lifestyle choices. There's no such thing as slow metabolism unless you have a medical condition. And in that case, this podcast again is not for you. This podcast is not for people who have thyroid issues, okay? This podcast is not for people who have diseases and disorders that is just linked to weight gain, okay? This is a podcast where the root cause is obesity. The root cause, like if you have hypertension, prediabetes, or type 2 diabetes, those people should watch this podcast or listen to this podcast, because it's more likely that you're making poor lifestyle choices than you have a slow metabolism. If you believe that your metabolism is slow, you will never lose weight or keep it off. Just like if you think that your obesity is genetic, you will never lose weight and you will never keep it off. If you hit a roadblock, you will need to refer to your logs. Recreating weekly goals is what you should do if you don't lose any weight in the first 3 weeks. You're doing wrong something. You're not counting calories. You're not tracking anything. Your goal setting is off. And what you can do is you're going to recreate your goals. If you were doing 3 cardio sessions, then you need to increase or bump that cardio session up to 5. If you're doing 3 lifting sessions, you might want to consider doing 4 lifting sessions. If you are having 2 alcoholic drinks and you don't know how many calories there are, you don't know what mixing they have done, you might want to have no alcoholic drinks. And so this is how you may want to go about if you don't lose any weight in a subcaloric diet, in a diet that you think you are subcaloric, but actually you're not. Either you're eating too much or drinking or liquid calories too much, which is bumping you out of sub-calorie diet, or you're not moving enough. That's the only two things at a very objective lens. This is how I would convert common struggles into wins. Common things I have heard is, well, high intensity interval training makes me overeat. Focus on low intensity cardio then. I cannot eat grilled chicken every day. Well, how about we make breaded chicken in the air fryer every day? I need to party at least once a week. Then drink seltzers when you go out. Because seltzers have calories on the back. And I don't really much about the production of alcohol, okay? Because I'm not a big drinker anymore. But seltzers gives you calories on the back, and they're not mixed with anything, so they're, I guess, not pure, but like they're not mixed drinks. And so I think seltzers would be a good option. Walking is boring. Well, you can walk and you can watch Netflix or YouTube while walking on a treadmill. And when I have done that, 30 minutes, an hour has just gone by fast. I have nighttime cravings. Then go to bed at 9. If you have nighttime cravings and if you have issues with binge eating, and those people honestly have cravings at night, you should fix your sleep schedule. You should fix it. Like today, you should start going bed early. Close your eyes and go to bed. That's the best thing you can do. Instead of jumping on a pill or wasting endless amounts of time on Instagram at night or YouTube, it's just best thing is to go to bed early. I'm a cereal addict. Well, buy a protein cereal and low-fat milk. I crave soda every meal. Have a diet soda every meal. So these are the common struggles that I have saw, heard, and I've converted them for you in a very logical manner. And the last thing is, again, such a cringe where people will say diet soda is equal to regular soda. No, it's not. Diet soda has 0 calories. Regular soda has a lot of calories. And then they jump on the conclusion, well, chemicals. They're the same chemicals. When you look at the ingredient list, regular soda has same chemicals plus sugar compared to diet soda, no sugar. And then here are more common issues. The more common issues are miscounting calories, right? Engaging in micro-binging. Well, micro-binging is not a term, but it's just that micro-binging is just having a bite here and there and creating like miscounting calories. Like this is just miscounting calories, like not paying attention to the energy you're taking in or food you're taking in. And next thing is, the big thing is meal quality. How should you improve your meal quality? How do you know if something is healthy and something is not healthy? Okay. And then next thing is weight fluctuations. Like weight fluctuations are a big thing. That also accounts for bloating. Like those could demotivate you on your weight loss journey. And lastly, sleep deprivation. These are the common issues that we'll be tackling in this next section. We have already covered overestimating activity levels and what diet to follow. It doesn't matter what diet you should follow. And you should always underestimate activity levels to cover up any discrepancies in your total daily energy expenditure. When we talk about accounting for calories, I'm not talking about accounting for every calorie. I'm not talking about counting every piece of lettuce that you have on your plate. I'm talking about whatever you're eating has to be measured in some way on a food scale. But that also means that you should stop indulging in micro binges. And micro binges, again, are just those unaccounted calories, bites, nibbles, etc. that you have throughout the day, which could maybe add up to 200, 300 calories and could either bring you out of subcaloric diet or could lead to a slower weight loss than you might have predicted. And so eating deliberately is really critical. How would you improve your meal quality? How would you improve meal quality? When we talked about your macronutrient guidelines or requirements for improving your body composition, I think I would refer to that, and then I would improve your meal qualities. Here are some common junk options that I've turned into healthy meals. And so the first thing you can do, if you're having eggs already, you can add an extra egg or 2 eggs. You can eat a high fiber cereal instead of Frosted Flakes or Fruity Pebbles in the morning with, of course, non-fat or low-fat milk. You can also drink whole milk, but it's just that added fat, more calories, and that's the reason why non and low fat milk is preferable. And again, when I talked about sausages and high processed meats, they usually have more fat than protein, which is then the goal is if the goal is having more protein, then I think it's critical for us to manage the processed meats that are really high in fats. And so pick breakfast meats that are lower in fats. Some bacon brands are lower in fat, and then you can also do chicken sausage if you would like. And also regular sausages, there are certain brands that, again, they're lower in fat, and so you can look around for those at Sam's Club or different places to get those meats. And again, protein pancakes, I have found that they're really beneficial for people who like to eat pancakes. And so Premier Protein, they sell protein pancakes, and they're really good. And if you use light maple syrup, it's just the best meal you can have sometimes. And then you can additionally use breads, rolls, bagels to make breakfast sandwiches, okay? Because in order to have extra protein, in order to have extra eggs, you need to have you need to have something with it so it's pleasurable for you to eat. And so I don't shy away from carbs, especially if it's my first meal, it's a pre-workout meal. And if I'm using that energy for my workout, I don't shy away from high carb breads like bagels. And again, you can add a scoop of whey in your oatmeal too, if you would like. And then berries to your cereal bowl if you want to add more fiber. For lunch, I am not an expert on lunch, but what I would do is I would choose a low-fat dressing. Our stores are filled with healthier options. You just have to look for them. Light and low-fat dressings are widely available at your nearby stores. And again, I would use meats that are low in fat and high in protein. So like deli meats like turkey, ham, and even regular like chicken could really help you in getting protein and help you not add a lot of fat. And again, protein shake could be also a meal replacement for lunches. Lastly, for dinner, you want to have, again, I'm sort of the person where I like heavy meals, and so this is just an example of what I would do. For dinner, I would usually not eat high-fat meat like ground beef, chicken thighs, and processed fatty meats like hot dogs, but I would go for 93.7 ground beef, lean ground beef, chicken breast, and chicken tenderloins. I think that works the best for me. And it might work the best for you because you would have more protein, you would have some healthy fats. If you know how to get around the kitchen, it's just easier for you to get protein. And then for carbs, these are my preferred sources. I like carb-balanced tortillas. I like low-carb rolls. A 647 is a good brand for rolls and sandwiches. I like rice, white rice. I like white rice. I'm not really towards brown rice. I actually don't even know if brown rice is healthier for you or not, but I like white rice. Angel hair pasta is really thin pasta. I really like that. Potatoes, I love potatoes. Sweet potatoes, broccoli, lettuce, peppers, jalapenos, onions, tomatoes, carrots. Those are all my preferred sources of carbohydrates and vegetables that I use. And my preferred sources of fats would be avocado, cheese, low-fat cheese, olive oil, butter. And so this is what I would do. So again, improving meal quality just depends on what kind of guidelines you follow, what's the least restrictive protein range you want to follow, and then you want to create your meals accordingly. Again, if you need help with all this, my coaching options are always open. I'm looking for people who want to take control of their health, lose some fat. I can help you with improving your meal qualities. And so just DM me Transformation. I can help you out. Approaching dessert is also critical. You can overeat on dessert. As I said, as we looked at the cereal example, one bowl of cereal for one person is not one bowl of cereal for other person. And that goes to ice cream, that goes to brownies, and that goes to cookies and other desserts. And so my philosophy is never eat more than one serving because it's just easier to eat 2 serving. So I would control my dessert. And the caloric range for my dessert is pretty simple, 200 to 300 calories. And that's usually like 1 to 2 servings of cookies, 1 medium square brownie. I don't know with the grams. I believe it's like 50 grams of a gram of brownies or something. But it's 2 small scoops of ice cream or a medium scoop of ice cream. So that's how I would approach dessert. And if it's like a cake or a pastry, then you would want to portion control that if it's from a bakery. And also measuring with the food scale is highly preferable, because then you can just, let's say if a pastry was 200 grams, right? You eat 100 grams, that 100 grams might probably have 250 calories. So half of that pastry is enough for the day, and then you can enjoy the rest of the pastry on the next day. I think that's what I would do, instead of just saying, oh, I'm not going to eat anything from this wonderful bakery today. So this might help you out. This should help a lot of people out too. What are some qualities of good snacks? So good snacks are one that is high in fiber, one that is high in protein, one that's not fried, one that's a real food, one that's puffed. And again, popcorn is the OG of good snacks. Again, popcorn is the best low-calorie snack out there. It has a little fiber in it, and it's just the best snack ever, okay? Because you can eat a lot of it and not feel full. And it's also like under 200 calories if you measure it out right. I think beef jerky here qualifies as the best protein snack on here. And then Quest is a good brand where it creates this different protein products. They're tasty. I really like the protein chips and not the desserts. So I have used those protein chips before, and I've consistently gotten like 160 grams of protein a day with a protein shake and a protein chip snack. And so that helps me out. It is expensive, but it also depends on their finances, right? If you have money and if you can invest in your nutrition, I think, and if you have cravings for snacks, Quest protein chips are a great option. And then these puffed options, right? So puffed is, again, the reason why puffed is because you can eat a lot of them. There's also a psychological factor for people who are struggling with binge eating and eating disorders. If you eat a lot of something, it just gives you satisfaction that I ate a lot of it, even though it's like 100 calories or 200 calories. So that is the reason why I like to use them. It's just that psychological satisfaction too. Lastly, fiber. Raspberries, blueberries are a great snack, a great post-workout snack, even like fruits. And then real foods, right? There's nuts, seeds. They're all salty pumpkin seeds. Salty nuts are a great snack, but also nuts, you should also control them to about 1 to 2 servings, just because there's a lot of fat in them. Just controlling is the best. Not saying to not eat them, but that's what I would do. You need to improve your meal quality by minimizing hidden calories. Hidden calories is anything that you cannot see, okay? And that's like butter. You cannot see butter. You cannot see oil. You cannot see some dressings, sauces. You cannot see those sometimes. And even things you can see, like heavy cream, like sour cream, you can see, but sometimes it's really easy to overdo on those. So they should be controlled at all times. You'll be surprised what 1 serving of butter looks like too. 1 serving of butter is like probably like, I have this microchip here, but it's like 1 serving of butter is probably like the chip inside, not the top one, but the big one. That's just 1 serving of butter, and that's not a lot of butter. You should control them at all times. Again, it's also very beneficial. Again, I'll mention it again. You have to take the light and the low calorie options like light sour cream, light mayo, low fat cream, low fat sour cream, light Caesar dressing. light honey mustard, buffalo sauce, light ranch, light barbecue. Like, don't feel that you'll be judged just because you want to eat a little bit healthier, eat a little bit less calorically dense. And the golden rule here is always choose light and low fat and lower calorie options with hidden calories. And with butter and oil, you can always control them. And then that's what I would do for hidden calories. 80% of your results come from 20% of your effort. And that is especially true in dieting. What I mean by is this is an example of a very, very less effort dieting day. For breakfast, let's say, for example, you eat 3 protein pancakes, 2 eggs plus bacon. For lunch, you eat a high-protein pizza made with fat-free cheese. For a snack, you eat a Quest protein chips. For dinner, you make burgers with keto buns that have fiber in it. And then you eat a Ben & Jerry's half-baked ice cream, just one serving. The grand total would be around 2,000 calories, 130 grams of protein, 230 grams of carbs, and 76 grams of fat. I have not made those numbers up. I have actually counted calories for all of those. And again, it depends on what kind of pizza crust you use and what's the calories for the fiber buns and all of that stuff. And also the fries you're making, how much oil you're adding. But average, you will eat around 2,000 calories if you just follow this, okay? And you will get your protein in, you will get fiber, and you will limit your saturated fats. And most importantly, you will enjoy a dessert. And so the point being is that if you don't even put a lot of effort, you just switch, you just improve your meals. Have them find ways to create high protein meals. Low in fat, low in saturated fat, and focusing on fiber too, and having a protein snack here and there. 80% of your results will come from 20% of your effort. Okay, and the 20% effort is just looking at your meals you're eating currently in your day-to-day life, finding little changes, small changes, making small changes in terms of getting more protein in, getting more fiber in, which will play into your satiety signals, and minimizing saturated fat whenever possible, and then just enjoying like something nice, which could be an ice cream. And then you might say, what about sugary drinks, right? If I want to enjoy a sugary drink here and there, yes. But then how about we also tackle what happens when you substitute sugary drinks with artificial sweeteners? There is a meta-analysis, and what they looked at is, are artificial sweeteners any better than sugary drinks in terms of weight loss and weight management? And what they found was, through this meta-analysis, that there was modest but significant weight loss found in all the studies in this meta-analysis. What they really concluded is artificial sweeteners and zero sugar drinks, they serve as an important tool in weight loss management. Because from this meta-analysis, it's clear that if you opt for a zero sugar drink instead of a sugary drink, over time, you will lose weight. And that's like a modest, significant weight loss. There has to be many people out there in this world who just switched from regular Coke to Coke Zero. And they lost so much weight just by making a small change. And that's where the Pareto's principle comes in, where 80% of the results come from 20% of effort. What kind of effort do you put? You put in minimal effort in terms of being healthy. You cut out the main culprit. When we looked at that graph, right? Or not graph. When we looked at the figure on your screen, it was a big person on the left, the slim person on the right. There was an arrow, and then on the top of the arrow, it said, what's the biggest challenge you're facing right now? If sugary drinks is the biggest challenge you're facing right now, and if it's just only challenge you're facing right now, and if you're just afraid that sugary drinks and chemicals will give you cancer, and I can say is it's not going to give you cancer if you lose weight. Your risk of having cancer is so much higher than your current obese state than putting in artificial sweeteners. And so if your biggest struggle is sugary drinks, you need to opt for artificial sweeteners, because it's a very, very important tool for weight loss maintenance. And that is what is shown by this meta-analysis. And it was, in fact, even better than water in terms of weight loss and weight loss maintenance. The significance was, it was a highly significant result. Next section will be all about understanding fat loss and weight loss, because if you don't understand fat loss and weight loss, you will be small and weak, and you won't know if you hit a roadblock or not. And so weight loss on low carb and keto diets is something that people always question, or people in science always question. And so 1 gram of glycogen stores about 3 to 4 grams of water. So if you lose 1 gram of glycogen, you will lose 3 to 4 grams of water with it. And so this study looked at the metabolic effects of weight loss on a very low carbohydrate diet compared to a isocaloric high carbohydrate diet in obese subjects. And so what they found was there was no weight loss difference between high carb diet and ketogenic low carb diet. There's no weight loss difference. In the first few weeks or even first week, you will lose a lot of water weight on weight loss from a low carb ketogenic diet, just because of cutting out the carbs from your diet. If you want to watch this in depth, I've made a recent video, weight loss on low carb diets. You can check it out. I think weight loss on low carb diets is misleading, and that is what I want to point out. You don't really lose weight, and you don't really lose fat. Actually, you don't really lose fat, but you lose weight, and that is because of water initially. And then there's a constant struggle to restrict or to reduce carb cravings. There's a constant struggle to be in a caloric deficit, and the efforts that you put into not overeating are immense when you are on a keto diet. So this could be a realistic graph for someone, and weight fluctuations can play a role in your weight loss journey. Weight fluctuations are spikes in your weight loss journey, and they're unexplainable, right? But if you can see in week 1 here, we have incorporation of high protein diet, and maybe that person gains a little bit of weight because of adding high carbs in the weekends. Totally normal thing. Totally normal thing when you go out in the weekends or you have family events in the weekends and you eat high carbs. But then you gain momentum and you steadily lose weight. So sometimes you have this large fluctuations in your weight just because of not losing or not gaining fat, but because of the water and electrolytes and carbs and all of that stuff. And so this could be a realistic graph for many of the people who are trying to lose weight. When I started to lose weight, I lost 10 pounds in the first week. And it was a great reward, but those 10 pounds, first week I lost 10 pounds, the next week I just lost 2 pounds. So it wasn't all fat in the first week of my weight loss. Probably a majority of it was water weight. And so this is what weight fluctuations would look like in a human in a regular period of weight loss. You can also experience bloating too. That could influence your weight fluctuations in your journey. And it could be due to high intense exercise, It could be due to high carb meals, the type of carbs you're eating, what kind of carbs you're eating also, right? And the overeating, binge eating could also influence bloating. The rate of eating can experience bloating, irritable bowel syndrome, electrolyte imbalance. So all of these will influence your weight fluctuations, but you have to do your subcaloric diet for at least 3 weeks to see any changes in fat, to assess any changes in fat, because week 1 will be just getting the momentum. Week 2 again would be getting the momentum and just trying to stick to a dieting pattern that is natural to you. And week 3, then you can say, okay, well, now the water weight has to average out. My eating pattern, like the carbs I eat across the 3 weeks, have to really average out. And so at week 3, you can really kind of have a picture of how much weight you have lost. And that could be anywhere from 3 to 7 pounds if you are in a subcaloric, 500 calorie subcaloric diet. Sleep and muscle loss is also important. They did a study where there's 2 groups of people. One group was calorically restricted and sleep deprived, and that group, the researchers restricted their sleep for 5 days, and they let them sleep in during the weekends, just like how the normal lifestyle is. Most people go to work 5 days in the week, and sometimes, most of the time actually, they're sleep deprived. And so researchers used a natural method for the group, where 5 days of restriction, 2 days of letting them catch up on sleep, and then there was a control group of only calorically restricted group. What they found was the calorically restricted and the sleep restricted group lost more lean body mass, more muscle mass, compared to more fat mass. So in the explanation up on the screen, it says, we found that there was a similar amount of weight loss. So both groups lost the same weight because they had the same calorie restricted guidelines, but the total mass lost was composed of a greater percentage of lean mass and less percentage of fat mass in the caloric restricted and the sleep restricted group compared to the control group, or the calorie restricted group. And so this emphasizes the importance of good sleep, more than 7 hours of sleep if you are lifting. And this really shows how proper sleep, optimized sleep, can minimize muscle loss during a weight loss journey. So what about alcohol? Now, I didn't find any research studies. It may be due to my lack of abilities of finding studies, but in my opinion, alcohol is a very bad option during weight loss. Alcohol is kind of like empty calories, which is like a non-nutritive drink. You don't derive any nutrition from alcohol, and that's why it's called empty calories. You put it in your system, and then if you have 1 or 2 drinks, I usually lose my control with 2 drinks. Lose my control meaning I just have intense cravings for processed foods, and then the likelihood of my binge eating goes up. And so alcohol in my life just takes control over me and increases food cravings, and particularly cravings for processed foods and carbs, and that just creates a very, very bad rhythm for my fat loss journey. And so I usually, right now I'm at the around maintenance. So I'm at home right now, and sometimes there is family events, sometimes there is going out, and I usually try to just have like 1 or 2 drinks every week. or like max out at 2 drinks. But then there are obviously big occasions like weddings and stuff where you really want to enjoy and not feel restrictive. Because I feel like if you are restrictive for a whole year and then if you just drink a lot during big events, I think that's totally fine. But during your regular life, when you're chasing goals, it's really important for you to just opt for lowest amount of drinks possible. Okay, so overall goal for all this is improved body composition, and this really sums up the understanding of fat loss or weight loss. Your goal should be fat loss, because you don't want to lose lean body mass. It's not fun for strength. It's not fun for lowering your metabolic rate. And so this is a study, it's a brief review actually, of body composition changes in response to different diets, right? And so what they found was a high protein diet was the best at preserving weight loss. And again, these themes are coming up again and again. The high protein resistance training will prevent lean body mass loss. And so it's critical for you to consider getting high protein or making a conscious effort every day to get high protein, because it will just minimize your lean body mass, maximize fat loss. This is an awesome observation, right? Because it doesn't matter. Very low calorie diet, low carbohydrate diet, low fat diet, high fiber diet. What really matters is a high protein diet in this case. And I have this spectrum over here, and it reminds me of the protein range when I put all the protein ranges in the slides earlier about the protein ranges and the guidelines. I think you should choose the most restricting range that will preserve your muscle mass and maximize fat loss. You might not lose weight at all. You might go from 180 to 175. That's not a lot of weight. Let's say you gave yourself let's say you gave yourself 6 months, right? You might have just lost 5 pounds. You might say this is not worth it. It might have been this. You might have, in going from 180 pounds to 170 pounds, you might have gained 5 pounds of muscle, but you might have lost 10 pounds of muscle at the same time. Body recomposition can happen in beginners. And so this could have possibly happened to you in a span of 6 months. So don't be discouraged if the scale doesn't go down. How do you look like? This is particular for people who will be lifting hard in their caloric deficit. And so that's what you should keep an eye out and not feel discouraged and not be focused entirely on the scale that you'll be looking at every morning or every few days. Next thing is, why do you think people regain weight? I put up an Instagram poll about this, and I'm glad that people voted for this. It was like, do people have increased stress? People have poor lifestyle choices, or there was some other 2 options. But more than 50% of people regain all their weight after 2 years, and almost all of them regain weight after 5 years. I am extremely grateful to not have regained my weight, because I have maintained my lifestyle during my weight loss journey, maintain my lifestyle throughout this and going forward. I think the first reason why people regain weight is not understanding metabolic adaptation. When you are in an energy deficit, when you are in a caloric deficit, your body burns less calories. This is not bad. This is your body's, you can say, defense mechanism. What happens is when you cut calories, you're cutting food, right? Your thermic effect of food goes down. Eating less takes less to burn it. And then your NEAT goes down too. There's evidence that deficit reduces NEAT. You have less energy in your body to support your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Like, you might be moving your hand slower. You might be blinking slower. You might be fidgeting less. So there is evidence that there's some reduction of NEAT. And there is also reduction in BMR, but it's not something that you would think right? It's very, very significantly less reduction. It's like, from what I have looked at, it's probably like less than you would imagine. It's like 20 calories, 30 calories, is so less. What I have come across is that leptin production reduces as a function of less body fat, because leptin signals your body fat levels and satiety signals, which all results in a decrease in satiety signals. As a result, you feel more hungry, less satiated, leading to increasing in feeding behavior. Emerging evidence is that serum leptin is also one of the strong determinants of basal metabolic rate. And so there's research coming. I'm really looking for someone who understands this topic really well, like hormones and like very, very well. So I'm working on an expert. I need some time, but I think this would help understand like why people regain weight back. And also there's a loss of lean body mass, right? If you not do your weight loss correctly, or if you don't strive to become your healthier version of yourself, even after your weight loss, what's going to happen is you are favoring more of your fat, or favoring more of your lean body mass to be lost instead of your fat mass. And so that could create this weight loss plateau or weight gain. So what weight regain looks like is this. So person 1 cuts back from 3,000 calories to 2,500 calories. The person 2 does the same thing. Both of them lose 10 pounds in 10 weeks. First person realizes that he does not need to eat the same amount of food that he used to eat. So he brings his maintenance back up to 2,850 calories. However, person 2 keeps eating 3,000 calories and regains 8 pounds in the next 6 months, and then complains that nothing works for me. He also complains that I'm doing everything right, but I just gained the weight back. And so this is what actually happens if you zoom out and take like a 10,000 perspective look at two similar people with same metabolic rates. The second person regains the weight because, again, overestimation of calories, right? You need to understand that you're not the same person anymore. You're a different person, and that's good. You might not need, and you would probably not need, like more calories to survive. So I think you need to understand that. I think people need to understand that so that they don't influence regain. And again, this is a huge thing, appetite. Subjective appetite influences regain, and increase in appetite and decrease in satiety due to neuroendocrine adaptations is really critical, because you have lost, let's say you've lost 50 pounds. At that point, your leptin levels are so low that your body will fight back to get you back to your same weight, just because of the appetite and decrease in the satiety. Okay, formerly obese people in a study, they preferred calorie dense and sweet solution compared to lean. So what they did is, I think there were two groups of people. The first group was lean. The second group was formerly obese, meaning they lost weight. They lost probably significant amount of weight. But then when each group was given two different solutions, like one was calorie dense and one was not, the lean group preferred on average a less calorie dense solution, but the formerly obese, the people who were maintaining that weight, they preferred more dense, high calorie solution. And this really kind of brings home the point of the levels of leptin and the decrease in satiety that a person faces when they have newly lost weight. And so this another study is really critical. And in this study, what they wanted to find out was, how strongly does appetite counter weight loss? Okay. And so what they found was energy expenditure doesn't really reduce that much, only 20 to 30 calorie per kilogram lost. That's not that much. But appetite increases 100 calories a day per lost weight on average. So what that means is there's a large discrepancy between lost weight and your appetite. Your appetite can mess you up. If you are not following the principles that I've followed or I've shown. And so this is really critical. It's really critical to understand the discrepancies before you start your weight loss, okay? Because let's say you are 30 pounds down and you're just one step away from binge eating, one step away from messing it all up. And it just takes one meal to trigger your past behaviors, or one meal to reduce your momentum, one meal to take you back to your old self. And that's the role of your appetite. Next thing is dietary adherence. We already tackled this issue. You don't need to jump from diet to diets. In this study, what they did is they measured the adherence at 1 year and they measured the adherence at 2 years. And what they found was loss of adherence to a calorie restricted diet led to more weight regain compared to high adherence group. And so what this means is if you deviate from your calorie restricted diet, then you're more likely to regain your weight compared to if you adhere to your calorie restricted diet. Doesn't mean that you cannot add certain food groups. That doesn't mean you cannot do things that you did before. That means is the restrictions you followed during your weight loss have to be applicable after your weight loss. If you lost weight mainly on switching sugary drinks to zero sugar drinks, you want to do the same thing after coming off from weight loss. That's what it's saying. And this study again highlights the importance of dietary adherence, because dietary adherence, or sticking to a diet, or sticking to the restrictions that you follow or follow during your weight loss, is critical to prevent weight regain. Have you at all wondered that your metabolism decreases as we age? And the fact is, it doesn't. It doesn't at all decrease. They did a very, very comprehensive study, and there were thousands of participants in this study, and what their goal was to basically identify if do we lose or reduce our metabolism as we age. And in fact, we have a stable total daily energy expenditure from 20 to 60 years old. Now this is a joyful discovery for many of you. I believed that we decrease our metabolisms at the age of 30, like it just drops low and low, and that's why people regain weight. So it's not that the people regain weight from a low metabolism or a slowing metabolism, because when you look at this graph here, and it was males and females, thousands of participants participated in this study, what you see is there is a very stark increase in metabolic rate up to 20 years of age, and then there's a stable total daily energy expenditure between 20 and 60. And at 63, the metabolism drops little by little by percentage every year, and then only after like 70 or 80 you see a decrease, and that's not even a sharp decrease. It's like a very slow, gradual decrease. Now this is really fun news for a lot of people, That means if you can do everything right about preserving your muscle mass, being active, having the same restrictions that you follow throughout your life, you can be at the most healthiest weight 90% of your lifetime. And that is what everyone wants, right? So this information should be really critical for you, because that means anyone who says on social media about metabolism slowing as you age, believe it just up to a certain point, that, okay, only after 63 or 65, my metabolism will actually take a hit. That means I have 40 years to work on my metabolism. That means increasing my muscle mass, improving my metabolic rate, increasing my metabolic rate. And that's one of the reasons why I build muscle too, is because I can have an increase in metabolic rate as I age, and not a decrease in metabolic rate. And maybe if I happen to live long, 65 plus, I would be somewhere around, like, above the natural line, And so that is the reason why building muscle, preserving lean body mass, maximizing fat loss, I think everyone wants that, and that's desirable for most people. So how do you prevent weight regain? We have covered a lot of information in this podcast, but it's absolutely critical to understand how you should prevent weight regain at all. From what you have learned today, if you regain weight, it's not your metabolism. We have covered so much science in this podcast, and so it is absolutely your desire to indulge. It's absolutely your desire to just eat a lot of food, overeat, and it also plays a role. Your appetite plays a role too. Sticking to the same dieting pattern. We already addressed this. Adherence is key. You should follow the same restrictions that you were following during your weight loss after your weight loss. Just imagine what would happen if you jump from diets to diets. Your weight fluctuations would be immense, just because you're jumping on diet to diet. You don't have a baseline diet you follow, and so it will be harder for you to lose weight and to not regain weight if you jump from diet to diets. Imagine what would happen if you started having 3 meals instead of 1. Like people who do 1 meal a day, and I did 1 meal a day. I ate 1 meal a day for 2-3 years, and then I added another meal just because I was weight training. And so it's critical for you to address that. What if you go 1 to 3 straight without any weight training or without any physical activity? Yes, you are going to regain weight. Everything seems common sense, but you have to reflect on your journey. And so there might be other obstacles that you face after you lose weight successfully. You need to think of things that might influence weight regain. And everything is different for you, but everything is different for everyone, but principles are the same, like dieting pattern, adherence, etc. Make healthier choices all the time. Like, you don't have to finish your meal and dessert, okay? You don't have to finish everything on your plate. You have to stop when you're full. That is the tool I use all the time. I stop when I'm full, when I don't feel like counting calories, and I want to enjoy myself, but I absolutely hit the brakes when I'm full. Using zero sugar drinks, light sauces, dressings are extremely beneficial tools for weight maintenance. I don't care what chemicals they have. I do know that I'm not drinking detergent or gas. I know that I'm drinking liquid that's meant to be in my body, and so I don't fear zero sugar drinks and light sauces and dressings. I prioritize protein, fiber, all the time outside. Top tips coming up. Cutting out your favorite foods can increase appetite for them. So, as I mentioned, pizza. If you have not had any pizza in your weight loss journey, Imagine adding that after your weight loss. You can either control it or you can live your entire life without pizza. Those are your only two options. If you don't like the idea of it, then never try to cut out your favorite foods during weight loss. Eat in a portioned control manner. Protein and fiber, again, makes it easy. Again, we saw that research with administering a protein and fiber drink, and the appetite for pizza. And so if you prioritize protein and fiber, you have strong satiety signals that's going to the brain, and then it's just easier for your brain to make a decision. Less overeating and not relying on cravings and appetite. And I think that will help with preventing regain. Taking on a new health goal is something that you should do after weight loss, because we are creatures, we are beings that always seek a new goal. We always want to do something. After you reach weight loss, you want to take on the next healthier goal that's in your mind, or that's what you want to achieve. For me, it's building muscle. For you, it might be strength training. For another person, it might be like running, and a third person might be like picking up a sport. So do things that keep you healthy after your weight loss. And I think building muscle is the best option, because you're restoring your lean body mass, you're restoring your strength, you're facilitating aesthetic body composition. It's a win-win situation, and you can do everything at the same time. You can build muscle, strength train, and pick up a sport. Why is building muscle so important? Building muscle is more important because more muscle is linked to superior metabolic and cardiovascular health. Just imagine a person having 100 pounds of lean body mass versus 150 pounds of lean body mass. Muscle is very metabolically active. It needs glucose constantly. The resting energy expenditure for muscle is greater than all the other organs in your body. Imagine your risk of diabetes getting lower if you are a person with 150 pounds of lean body mass compared to 100 pounds of lean body mass. And again, lean body mass is number one determinant of basal metabolic rate. The more muscles improves basal metabolic rate. And that is why I believe mostly everyone, like 99% of people on this planet, should be weightlifting, and though they don't. It's also important to consider using diet breaks. Okay, diet breaks is just pausing your diet for a period of time. It's just a way to bring your calories to maintenance for some period of time, taking a little break. It's okay to have a slow weight loss. It's okay to pause. Everything doesn't have to be fast. And so you have to, what are big events for you? You have to ask that question. Are vacations big events for you? Weddings, birthdays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, family events? What big events are coming up? All right. If I was doing this in December, it would be really hard for people to stick to a weight loss program or stick to a sub-calorie diet, because December has two big events. It's New Year's and it's also Christmas, and multiple family events. Sometimes there are weddings too. So there's a lot of events that takes place in December. You have to figure out when you can hit pause and when you can eat intuitively and mindfully. Diet breaks aren't an opportunity to binge eat. I think diet breaks is sometimes a great psychological tool. I have used it. You can do mini diet breaks of like maybe 2-3 days, or you could do it for 1 to 2 weeks. But in this study, in this randomized control trial, they took two groups of people. First group went through 6 weeks of continuous caloric restriction. The second group went through an intermittent caloric restriction. That means 2 weeks of calorie restriction, 1 week off, and then 2 weeks of calorie restriction, 1 week off, and another 2 weeks of calorie restriction, total of 8 weeks. Both groups did 3 days of resistance training, and then both groups again ate 1.8 grams protein per kilogram of body weight. And this was done in females. And so even females ate all that much protein. What they found was there was no change in basal metabolic rate and body composition. That means they lost similar amounts of weight. There was a no change in BMR, which is also important, right? Happy face for that. But there was lower scores for disinhibition. What disinhibition is it's a psychological threshold at which a person participates in overeating and binge eating. Lower disinhibition scores means an individual is likely going to binge eat during dieting period. And that is what you don't want. Higher scores you don't want. In fact, in group 1, they saw higher scores of disinhibition. In group 2, they saw lower scores. And what they concluded is because the intermittent dieting style of having pausing your diet, putting on breaks on your diet intermittently, maybe doing this during big events that are coming up. Let's say you have to go to a wedding the weekend. There's a wedding in the weekend, and so you want to, let's say, do 10 days of continuous restriction, and then you want to give yourself 3 days of diet break, eating to sub-calorie, or eating up to maintenance. And that's what you have. That's how you can create this. Or you can do 2 weeks and 1 week, right? Just how the study did. You can also do like 5 to 2, right? So you can do 5 to 2, 5 days of sub-calorie diet and 2 days of maintenance. So it's a great tool to lower disinhibition. It's just a psychological tool that may help people. It's also important to consider that you can break weight loss into little checkpoints of every 10-pound checkpoints if you have a lot of weight to lose. And so if the rate of weight loss slows down at any point, you'll need to decrease 50 to 100 calories, assess meal quality, increase protein, or increase physical activity. That's what you would need to do. And that is why breaking up your weight loss into checkpoints helps. Because let's say the first 10 weeks you assess your weight loss and you did it in 7 weeks. Well, you were taking in 2,000 calories. That's a pretty good weight loss. But then in the next 10 weeks, you lose 10 pounds, but you want to lose it quicker. So maybe you slash 100 more. And then the next 9 weeks, you eat 1,800 and you actually lose weight a little bit quicker. So that is what I mean by breaking up weight loss into checkpoints. And again, people might fear that, okay, if I do aggressive dieting, there will be adaptation. Yes, there will be metabolic adaptation of NEAT because you're eating less calories. Your body will burn less calories. And so there will be high adaptation in NEAT. And again, thermic effect of food, all those will impact your TDEE. But what's controllable? The controllable is getting in high protein. What's controllable is resistance training, increasing your physical activity. Focus on the controllables. And we have established that basal metabolic rate does not decrease. And you don't need to fear. Nothing good comes out of fear. It's creating stress, and it's creating friction to ultimately start fat loss. Protein and resistance training preserves muscle mass, which prevents drastic lowering of metabolic rate. And even metabolic rate that's lowered in the studies is not that much, okay? So I don't think that you need to fear lowering of metabolism just yet. Lastly, my last section, my top habits and tips, are here we go. I like to have 7 to 9 hours of sleep daily with consistent sleep cycle. The days when I'm not counting calories, I like to eat mindfully and intuitively. I never like to overeat. I get anywhere from around 120 grams of protein to 160 grams of protein on an omnivore diet. Couple that with 20 to 30 grams of fiber daily. I enjoy dessert every day. People who know me, I need some sugar every single day. Not that I need it, but it just has the social component of it, and just like just being with people, the social time is a great way to have a good dessert with people at the end of the day, okay? And then when I calorie count and when I go into a fat loss cut, I usually use a food scale really, really aggressively, and I calorie count between 1,800 calories to 2,000 calories, and then I limit alcohol to two drinks a week. And actually, in the past year, I have had no drinks for about 8 months, and then I went to Cabo where I had drinks, and then it was no drinks for 2-3 months again, and then I had some events where I had to drink. And so when I look at a year at glance, I average out to like 1 drink a week, or even like 1 drink a month. But when I have a heavy week, I usually limit my drinks to about 2, and some months and weeks it's 0. And then I don't smoke of any kind. And then this is my first meal of the day. Usually have some sort of eggs, a lot of eggs, with some sort of bacon, or with some sort of meat, sometimes with bacon. I make like a breakfast wrap or a breakfast sandwich. I'm really a good fan of low-fat yogurt for increasing my protein intake. And sometimes I have also made like meat breakfast bowls with ground beef and eggs and low-calorie sriracha sauce. And again, I also like protein pancakes. Premier Protein does a great job of just creating some good products here, and I'm not shy of using them as good tools to satisfy my appetite and cravings. And lastly, this is my new love. I present to you Cashigo Toasted Berry Crisp. I'm absolutely in love with the taste. I have that with low-fat milk. Fairlife is a great macro-friendly option. I just like the macros on Fairlife, just good. And so these are my options, okay? My next meal will be post-workout. This is usually after I work out. It will be 1 or 2 scoops of whey, or a Fairlife protein shake, or it will be protein shakes plus some sort of fruit. I love watermelon, I love berries, and so that's how my post-workout works. And then my last meal, which is 4 to 5 hours before bedtime, that would be some sort of chicken or beef. And it's pretty consistent. It's either chicken or beef. I could take 12 ounces or 16 ounces of chicken and make a lot of different things. If you follow me on Instagram, I have a lot of recipes, a lot of things you can try out, ranging from Mexican, Indian, Italian to American cuisine. American cuisine, it's funny. But I have a lot of different options on my Instagram, a lot of different recipes. Very helpful, and I'm not even kidding that the food I make actually tastes good. I hope you check those out if you have time. And then burgers are very easy. You can use them with Mexican bowls, but in terms of burgers, you can make various burgers. I like to make jalapeno ranch burgers. You can make hoagies, but 1 pound of beef is so easy to get and make, and it's lean. So you're getting a lot of good fats, you're getting protein, and it's just easy. And my carb sources are just the low fiber rolls when I can get a hand on them. Carb balanced tortillas, angel hair pasta, white rice, pinto beans, black beans, chickpeas, breadcrumbs when I make wings, air fried wings, potatoes. And then my carb sources could also be different things depending on my mood, like sweet potatoes are a great carb source too. Fat sources would mainly be olive oil, butter, avocado, bacon, and then fat from beef. And then I also enjoy daily reward, as I said. It could be anywhere from cookies to ice cream. But one notable dessert is sugar-free Jello, sugar-free pudding, and that helps you a lot because I think the whole pack is about 100 calories. Or no, I think a whole pack is 100 calories, 30 per serving or something. But it's around 100 calories, and it's a huge bowl. It's a very big bowl of pudding. And you can usually eat it during the week, split it into 4 desserts. But I really like that low calorie option. But I also I'm not shy of eating the regular desserts. Lastly, my sleep. Again, I said 7 to 9 hours of sleep. But one thing to note is hours of bedtime does not equal to hours asleep. And so you want to maximize your sleep. Preferably get 8 hours of sleep or 9 hours sleep if you have time. For me, I have noticed that high quality sleep allows me to digest food and maintain my weight efficiently. I'm able to handle 2,600 to 2,700 calories any given day if I have like 9 to 10 hours of sleep. It just works. And that's what improving metabolism, I'm really passionate about that because it prevents weight regain. Eating out, this is like a whole list of places I eat out when I'm trying to maintain weight or even lose weight. I have gone to all of these places when I've tried to cut fat, okay? Getting double chicken options, if you go to like a halal cart, you can ask for a sauce on the side because it's usually high fat sauce. And so it's a very fatty sauce. So I usually come home, measure the chicken, measure the rice, and then pour the sauce on top myself. And it's usually about 1 to 2 tablespoons. And I compare that with like a ranch dressing or like a similar white sauce on my app, calorie counting app. But yeah, these places are all good. Moe's, Chipotle, Meze, Chick-fil-A, Texas Roadhouse, Panda, Halal Cart, Indian chicken, tandoori chicken, and then Mexican places, fajitas are my go-to. Chicken fajitas are my go-to meal because Mexican places usually don't have nutritional information, and so I use logical estimation of protein. The picture up here on the screen, from my prior experience, I estimate that this is about 300 grams of cooked chicken, not raw, because raw has more weight because of, again, cooked chicken, lean body mass, cook it, loss of lean body mass, and that is because of the water that's came out, but that's just a funny correlation. But 300 grams of cooked chicken and about 90 grams of protein. And so that is the reason why I like Mexican restaurants. Yeah, remember that cooked meat has smaller volume than raw. And we also don't know what fats are added. So that's a problem that we cannot really solve. We can just estimate. We can do our best to estimate. This is probably cooked in oil. So you can just estimate how much oily it is. You can feel the veggies, see how much oily it is, and then track accordingly. Food scale again could be your best friend. This is when I usually get takeout from a halal place. I usually come home and measure my meals. This is me measuring the rice. I never eat the whole rice because look at the amount of rice they give you. And I believe this is about 300 to 400 grams of cooked chicken. And the rice, that much rice on the plate is just 150 grams. And I think the rice that's left on the to-go container, I think that's probably around 300 to 400 grams. So you shouldn't. This is why I like having a food scale at my house. You can track efficiently, and if you prioritize protein, you're going to get fuller quicker, and you're not going to overeat. And this is true for pizzas, samosas, fries, pasta, anything, any to-go meal that you bring home, and you are unsure about how many calories it's going to be, put it on the food scale, and you're good to go. making logical decisions than emotional, right? So again, you don't need to eat the whole meal. You don't need to like have that victim mentality that, oh, I deserve this. I deserve to have this meal. I deserve to go to a restaurant. I can enjoy at least 2 drinks. You don't know. You logical over emotional all the time during a weight loss journey. Because one day can completely damage your progress. This is a meal I ate recently. I didn't finish it. But one day can set you back a week. This highly delicious, highly palatable food, Cheesecake Factory. Okay, who doesn't like Cheesecake Factory? So much good food. Look at the calories. This, for some people, this is the maintenance calories. Not even maintenance. This is like the basal metabolic rate for most people here. Okay. Certainly 1940 is probably my basal metabolic rate, give or take 200 calories. But point is, it's not even like one plate, it's multiple plates. And this is easily like, what? Like 7,000 calories? Easily 7,000 calories, and just a lot of calories. One day can set you back a week. And so make logical decisions. Stop when you're full. You don't need to overeat. You don't need to finish your plate. You can always take things to go. These are my cheat day rules again. Mindful, intuitive eating at every point. I would eat mindfully, then meticulously count every calories. I don't even look at the calories at Cheesecake Factory, but maybe I stop at one fried mac and cheese ball. Maybe I just eat one, right? Maybe I just have like 2 or 3 egg rolls, and then I'm done. I'm not going to eat the whole plate. I'm not definitely going to eat the whole cheesecake. I'm going to take a bite or 2 and then take it home. And these are my not cheat day, but like, again, cheat day is misleading. My goal is to lower my disinhibition, okay, every time. And so this is what I have done every time. I eat about 85 grams of protein. That's 50% of the protein requirement before a big event, almost 50%. So if I have a big event coming up in the evening, I would have at least 85 grams of protein in by dinner and minimize the calories. Okay, so I'll probably choose like a lean meat like chicken. I know 12 ounces of chicken will give me like close to 90 to 100 grams of protein. And so I focus on meat. And again, on the big events, I focus on the meat if there is meat. If not, then I focus on the fiber, grains, lentils, beans. Then again, no alcohol. But if it's a big event, yes, I will drink alcohol. But I generally stick to 0 sugar sodas when I'm going out, when regular day-to-day life events. I aim to eat less carbs if there is meat available. But if there is no meat available, I would usually focus on fiber, focus on eating more veggies and more, or if I have covered up my protein requirements in the morning or in the afternoon, I can say, okay, I can eat 100% carbs. It just depends on the day. And again, no second rounds. And I think that is critical. No second rounds, absolutely ever. And that's a promise I have made to myself. And I don't have to finish my plate all the time. If I don't like something, I can throw it away. I don't have to have an emotional connection with the food. Like if my mom has made something that maybe I don't like it on my plate, I don't have to eat it just because my mom has made something. I think that's emotional eating, and I think that should be targeted. And you shouldn't be obligated to finish the plate if you don't like anything on it. My dessert rules are, again, 1 serving. And again, that cheesecake that you saw that was 1,300 calories, I always share it with someone. Maybe it's a family member or my partner. I never eat the whole dessert plate because desserts usually are more than 500 calories. Cheesecake Factory has enormous amount of calories. In my regular life, I prefer to eat dessert at home, or I like going to ice cream shops because I can get like a kid size or a small size, and then I could just estimate how many calories there are depending on the size of the scoop or the level of the soft serve. But again, mindful intuitive eating at every point. It's really critical for someone who has recovered from binge eating to really develop mindful eating at every point. It's more important than getting into calories and focus on calories, and even important than protein. But I think protein and fiber really do help in maintaining weight. Lastly, this is my workout split. In my top habits and tips, this is how I go about my exercise routine, maximize the metabolic output. And it's usually chest, anterior delts, and triceps 2 times a week, back, rear delts, and biceps 2 times a week. Legs are 2 times a week, but I don't hit the same muscle group more than once because I have bigger legs. And so this is what I do. And I do cardio 5 times a week. I focus on getting 7,000 steps every day, but then I also focus on, let's say, if I don't get those steps, I do cardio. And these cardio sessions would be on the Stairmaster or a treadmill. Not super intense, low intensity, but it would be more focused on like the length of the cardio. It's not super long too, like 20 minutes of cardio. And if you times that by 5, it's 100 minutes of cardio, and then you're also working out. Like, these workouts are hard, multi-joint exercises, some of them are bodybuilding types, but it's hybrid for bodybuilding and strength. I really appreciate if you have come this far, that you have taken tremendous time in understanding what goes into fat loss and how to prevent fat gain. To sum it all up, protein and fiber are your best friends in every part of your journey. And again, choosing the most restrictive strategies in every aspect of this fat loss is really critical. And to maintain that restrictive aspect after your fat loss, your diet after your diet. This guide should help a lot of people. And again, if it doesn't, I will coach you for free. DM me transformation. I'm here for you. I want to fight the obesity crisis. I'm sick and tired of people on social media misleading other people just for other people's money. It's theft. And so I have a mission to deliver proper science information to the people around the world so people can take control of their own health. I hope you like this podcast episode, and I hope to catch you in more science-based episodes and YouTube videos. Thank you again for watching.